All right, welcome everyone. We have another podcast today. Mr. Brad Owen, the Brad Owen on Twitter. What's happening, my man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty well under the circumstances. How are you doing?
Yeah, same. You know, every day just kind of starting to get the novelty, like the feeling of this thing. It's just sort of like keeps going and not really sure what to know or expect and hear different information. But you know, we are guest appearance. I like that. What's the cat's name?
He just does what he wants. So
What's his name?
Marvin.
Marvin, very nice. Well, hello, Marvin. So yeah, you're in Vegas, and you are obviously your vlog, your thing's blown up 200,000 plus on YouTube. Poker. I think most people here will know who you are, but maybe give a little background and intro yourself for those who somehow don't know who you are.
Sure. Play poker for a living. Live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and go around hosting meetup games with my buddy Andrew Nemi, and make videos about it pretty much and post them on YouTube. So I try and be as honest as I can about life as a professional poker player, grinding kind of low and mid stakes cash games mostly.
Very cool. And you, so I seen these meetup games, and I was talking with Andrew some about maybe in Florida. I know you guys have done them, and maybe in the future. Obviously, right now, who knows when anything's happening anywhere. But it seemed like they've had a ton of success. Can you give me a little idea of like numbers on tables and just like total how these go? How often are you doing them, and how do you plan the locations for these?
Yeah, so we first started out about 3 years ago. It was kind of Andrew's idea, just a way to make live cash games more fun. We're trying to get away from like the hoodie and headphone culture, and we wanted to invite our viewers out to play with us. So started out doing between like 3 and 6 tables in Las Vegas at just random places. Then I think our biggest one that we've done was Maryland Live, and we had 24 tables, I think 25 tables. So we had over 300 people show up to that one. And there's been a few of them that are, 20 tables plus. Chicago and LA, we had like 19 or something.
And give me one of those examples. Like what will they normally have? Like it's pretty obvious these card rooms are seen when you guys do this. Their traffic is way up, and it's people are showing up for these. How do you guys kind of track that or attribute like what kind of increase? Because it must be see the videos, the casinos that are doing this see that they're working and people are engaging. So you must get a lot of. Is this something where you have like a core group now of casinos or places you do with that they must ask you, hey guys, come do this, or do all the time, right? Is it the numbers are way up, I assume, from what their general numbers are?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we had to reach out to casinos, and it was really tough to negotiate and get them on board and have them see the vision that we had. Basically, our goal is to get traffic in there, and then with the videos, we're trying to market the casino and show off their properties, highlight the poker room in particular, and if they have hotels, then show the hotels and other amenities. So that's kind of how we pitch it. And in the beginning, it was just really tough. So it was like pulling teeth to get casinos to get on board with us. And then after we've had some success throughout the last couple of years, now casinos are all reaching out to us, and it's a much smoother deal. We're working with MGM properties. We were actually in talks with Hard Rock at Seminole Hollywood. We were trying to do something out there, and we were going to do something around this time, but obviously everything went down and we had to postpone that. But it's been a lot of fun, man.
It's pretty crazy. Like looking, I stream on Twitch, I do YouTube highlights and do videos, and it's a lot of fun. But I mean, the amount of views and the traffic you get on your YouTube, it's pretty crazy. I mean, this is like looking back to your original YouTube. Was this something that like did it ignite, as in once you started getting more views, then you think people start going back and just watching all your vlogs? Because it's pretty crazy. Your first vlogs are getting 100,000 views. Like it's pretty insane. Like you're literally all your vlogs get crazy numbers. I mean, was it like this, or was it for the first year or two it was small, and then did it kind of like do you find that people are going back and watching them and the numbers keep going up in the old ones?
Yeah, for sure. I think, so hold on, scroll up a little bit. Keep going.
I saw 1.5 million views.
Yeah. Go up to that one. So I think it's right there. Hold on, scroll down a little. there, right in the middle. So the biggest, yeah, that one. So that one is kind of what blew up the channel. And I was playing 1025 and it turned into 1025-50. So it was a big game.
Okay.
And that one somehow broke out of like this normal YouTube algorithm that caters to poker players. And there were a ton of people who maybe weren't really poker fans who happened to see it, you know? Something like the title and thumbnail were catchy enough to bring people who weren't like normal poker watchers to this particular video. And then that got a bunch of subs. So then once that happened, people went back and, you know, they watched the initial ones because they kind of, it's fun for them to see like the whole story all the way through. Even though those first few videos are super rough and really, really difficult to get through.
Right. It's
so
crazy. This is, I mean, this, the title, like, so when you put this up, what was the biggest views you had before? Was it already kind of moving, or did this like spur, this got so big and then all the other videos kind of started getting traction, or had you already had 100,000, 200, 300,000 view videos?
There were a couple that had a couple 100,000 views. One that I put up was like my 10th video ever. That one had that one I had Andrew on, I think. And that one had a couple 100,000. And then there was one that I did with Helmuth that had several 100,000 at that point. So I think I had 60,000 subscribers, and I put that particular video out a year ago. And since then, I've gotten like 150,000 new subscribers.
And what do you give me a bit of a YouTube hack? Like, there's algorithms change, right? It's not like different things, and obviously if you catch a lot of likes quickly, or certain things sort of trigger can set you to a different stratosphere. But what do you think is the most important, or some of the things you try to focus on? The thumbnail is important, of course. The title's important. The length of the video, right? Like, those are key things. Like, what do you find to be the sweet spot? Like, in a dream world, is it 10-minute videos, 25? Does it matter? Like, what really, like, what do you think is important stuff to look at?
I don't think that length is that important. I think it's important probably to have it be over like 10 minutes. I don't know, man. I think if people really understood YouTube, it'd be like a lot easier to grow channels. Like, you put out great stuff, for instance. There's a handful of other guys who I think put out really, really good content. And I don't quite understand why they don't have more subs, you know?
Right.
So it's just kind of a hit or miss thing. But obviously the thumbnails and titles are important. But that's not going to like necessarily get you the subscribers. Like, you still have to have good content to back that up, you know?
Right.
Otherwise, people might click on it, but they're not going to stay the whole time. And then they're certainly not going to subscribe to your channel if they're not interested in what you're putting out.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's interesting, because I see Jamie Staples, who is a good friend of mine, manages Party Poker with me for the Twitch stuff. He got me into YouTube in the first place. It's interesting what he does. He has a Poker Staples, right? So he has like his highlights, his Twitch stuff, and then he has like a vlogs, like Jamie Staples. So, I was sort of toying with that because just again, I want to make this about you, just to give you a reference point, guys, and show you how, I feel like my Twitch channel is strong. Like, I have a 30,000+ following. I get pretty good views, like consistent, solid. But there's not too many YouTube channels that get big views. Like, this is a good channel. Like, I'm happy with my channel, but yours is on a different stratosphere, right? Andrew Nemi as well. But mine's kind of it's a mix between live stuff and then highlights. And the highlights, for me at least, they do better. Like, if I have a deep run on Twitch and a final table or whatnot, those do better than like a live vlog generally. I think it's like a difference between like 7, 8, 10,000 versus like 20s usually around there. So I don't know. What would be, what would you recommend to someone starting a YouTube vlog? Do you have any feedback? Because is it confusing? Like, if you do the live and online, or do you think it's good to have a mixture? I mean, for you, you're doing only live, right? But
so for you, what's cool about your online stuff? Because I've seen them, and they're edited down. So it's like a lot of it's just big hand after big hand, or like important hand after important hand and you play like, I don't know how many you play in like a 20-minute video. I would guess somewhere like around 100 or something. Does that seem like a somewhat in the ballpark number, or how many hands do you think you're playing in like a 20-minute video of your online highlights?
Oh, how many hands in a 20-minute? Is that you're saying how
Yeah.
many hands go into that highlight video?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Actually, no, I don't even know. I couldn't even guess. Probably, I think less, but maybe that's right. Maybe 100.
Yeah, I don't know, but you go through them like really, really quickly, and that's awesome to see, how a high level pro, plays online. And I do think that people who are kind of, I don't know, I guess recreational poker players or casual poker fans enjoy all the aspects of feeling like you're in a casino playing poker though. I think they like to see the cards flip up. They like to see the chips flying around. I think that's a little bit more kind of engaging than maybe like an online play or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I was looking at your style, and I really like it, because again, I gotta say, I don't watch, which I'm sure you don't either, but at the same time, it's sort of like watching game film, right? It's good to know what the leaders are doing. You want to know like their style. Like, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I've looked at some of your stuff, and I'm like, man, because I see even in like the tournament live, like this type of view. And then like going through a hand, it's tricky because like the WPTs and WSOPs and a lot of them don't let you like in a tournament do it like this, right? But this kind of view and like feel and like a real, virtual reality almost, where you're like playing the hand and the board, I think it's awesome. And I kind of like, wow, like, that would probably help a lot, because a lot of my tournament stuff, it's like I show a little bit of the table, and then I'll go do like a share my pair, some kind of hand review where it's like not actually at the table, and you're watching, you like get to time it with the thing. So yeah, it's very interesting. The style of how you do it. It's you have to get permission though, right? It's like Red Rock, that's sort of your home base, right? They have an agreement. Do you have to have like everyone at the table sign something, or do you just have like a thing? You just kind of, and then you try not to show their faces. You might ask someone, hey, do you mind if you're in it, like that type of thing? How does that work?
So Red Rock has been my home base for years, since I moved out to Vegas in 2012. So pretty good relationship with everybody who plays there, especially in that 2-5 game. If I sit down there, I usually know like 6 other players by name at the table. This was actually kind of more of a gray area. It's funny that we're talking about it now. So I didn't necessarily have permission for this one. But for the meetup games, we put a sign out to say like, your image is going to be or whatever. There's filming going on in this area. By being here, it's giving your consent to be filmed and photographed.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, yeah, I told everybody at the table I was filming, and if anyone had an issue with it, which no one did, then just don't put them on there, basically.
Okay. And have you ever had an issue where you publish a video and someone like reaches out, or a casino comes back and says, hey, you got to take it down, or this is like not okay in this, you have to re-edit it and put something up or anything? Or
so only one time did I ever show someone's face, and it was at Red Rock, and the guy was like, hey, like, I think what you're doing is really cool, but do you mind blurring me out of that? And I said, yeah, that's fine. So I just went back, I edited it, blurred it out. It was just, he worked at another property, and he was kind of high up at another property, and didn't want to be seen kind of playing poker at another casino.
so basically you upload a video, and then the next day or same day or something, you got message, and then you take it right down, change it, put it back up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have to like really take it down. I just went into the YouTube studio, used the blurring effect, blurred out his face, and then so kept it up. I think that's what happened.
Actually, like you can actually edit a video when it's already up without taking it down.
That's the only time that happened, and that was like several years ago. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I guess there's some chance that I might have taken it down, blurred it somehow, some other way, and then put it back up. But I think that you can go in and blur it after you upload it on YouTube Studio.
Very, very interesting. That brings me to my next question. So Andrew Nemi, who also a friend of mine and has been on the show, and I know he's a master of his craft of doing his editing of his own vlogs. And this was something, now I don't know if he still does, or you would know, I'm sure. He told me at the time he was looking maybe at someone else do it, because he would actually film everything, and then he would go and do all his edits, because I can only imagine how tedious of a task, but it's like learning it. And once you get good at it and you can master it, and also exactly what you want, right? Like I have an editor, and he's amazing. I love what he does, but it's like, obviously, you know, exactly how I visualize the vlog, the stuff getting, there's pieces that don't get in, or it's like done a little differently, right? So it's like there is a benefit to being the architect and constructing exactly. But what do you do? Do you film it and send off your footage? Do you do your own, or how does that work?
I do everything myself. There's very little that I can delegate. Andrew's are done a little bit differently. So he does the hand analysis while he's still on the property of the casino. So he can just send all that to somebody else potentially and have them construct it in a way that's similar to Andrew. It's obviously not going to be the exact same. For me, I put all the clips out in front of me, then I write out the script, so I can't delegate the script, and then I record it, and I can't delegate that. So basically what I can do is have all that stuff and then send it to somebody else potentially and have them put it together. But I just feel like I feel weird about doing that. And I feel like it's not enough that I can delegate to really make it worth it.
Right.
And I kind of just like just doing everything, you know. I think
it's a fine line, right? Because it's like you find a way to maybe find a machine, like a optimized, like a assembly line, right? If you could, in theory, do it, but then it's like, well, once you kind of learn it, and you've done it for what, 3.5, 4 years now, so you know, you're actually a great editor as well as Andrew. Then, I mean, obviously, you're making these people love them, so you're like learning that, and then it'd be kind of it's like your baby, right? If you then now give it off to someone to sort of do, they're not going to stylistically be able to do exactly what you want or know how you do it, you know. So I get it. So that makes it. How long does it take? Let's say this last vlog, how long does it take for you that you just put out? How long did that actually take to edit and put together once you get home and have all the footage?
So probably about 20 hours, man.
20 hours.
Yeah.
On a video. And so you play the session, you get home, and then you're from just like taking all the clips, because a lot of stuff you probably don't use. It's like, I think that's the thing people maybe don't think about or understand too. Like, a lot of hands you're not going to use, or the footage wasn't exactly right, or whatever. So like you're doing a session, then you're going home, and then you're actually constructing the entire vlog. So 20 hours of work. So it takes you what, 2-3 days, 4 days?
Yeah. I used to do it. I used to be so excited when I would play a session that I filmed that I would do it like 20 hours in a row, just straight. I'm so excited to get this video out. But yeah, now I spread it out over several days. And with the quarantine stuff going on, I wasn't in any rush. So I just did like like an hour or 2 hours a day for like 5 days. And then I kind of had a deadline because I was talking to some other people because I was pitching like this Poker Bros app or whatever. And so there's a whole team that was kind of waiting for me to get out this video. So I told them like Tuesdays when I would get it out. So expect like people to be signing up, you know, during that time. So I worked like 14 hours or something Monday night, or all Monday, basically, from the time I got up to like 2 a.m.
So crazy. So tell me a little about so when you heard about COVID and the casinos closing down in Vegas and all this, how does that impact you directly? It's essentially you're going and making the videos. And so do you have a backlog? Do you have like 10 other sessions that are ready to go and you can work on? Or are you sort of like, well, now I don't know what I'm going to put out exactly because I don't have like fresh stuff to put? Or how does that work?
So the second thing, so that last video that I put out, I put that one out 2 or 3 days ago. That was the last session that I played of live poker.
Okay.
And I kind of had, I had a feeling that the casinos were going to shut down, and I just kind of squeezed it in right before they did shut down, just so I could have more content, essentially. And now, I'm kind of scrambling. I'm going through different ideas in my head about like what would be best, but I'm kind of also enjoying taking a break from the content game. Like Andrew and I have been going nonstop for the last 2 years, doing 2 or 3 meetup games in locations outside of Las Vegas per month for a while. So it's kind of nice just to be home and relax. But yeah, I still want to like stay connected with everybody. That's why doing the podcast stuff is great. And I'm probably going to start doing a little bit of streaming, get into your realm. So maybe you can help me out with that a little bit.
Let's trade. I know Twitch well. You seem to, you know YouTube very well. I would love to, cheat some hacks, some lessons of sweat and learning, right? Because it's that's one of the biggest things I think is with YouTube and just Twitch in general. There's a lot of lessons, a lot of hard learned lessons on what works, what doesn't work, and it's part of the process. It's fun, right? It's fun to put out content. It's fun to engage. It's fun to improve your own game. It's fun to try to help others improve, because ultimately there's people at different levels, right? There's players better than you, and you're better than the majority of the players, and that's the same with me, right? Like I know there's a lot of stuff to work on, and it's fun. It's fun to learn. And even hands and vlogs, like YouTube's kind of tough. You got to have thick skin too. There's a lot of people who are going to say, oh, you suck and you play as terrible. And they may be right in certain spots, but it's just funny, like the way they present it. It's like so crazy nasty sometimes. And some people can't handle it. Do you ever look like see stuff and you're like, damn, like what's man, like, all right, yeah, maybe I should have checked there, but calm down. Like, how do you handle like comments when people kind of go at you hard? Do you respond? Do you let it go? Or are you just like, whatever?
I think it's impossible to not let it affect you on some level. I think people, like, at least that's how I feel, like it's hard for me to imagine someone reading a bad comment about them and then just like, they're just like, oh, that's okay, I'm just going to go about my day or whatever. I do notice that there's a pattern. I mean, it's like, you can't really take them seriously, and it would be great to just have it completely roll off your back and have like no effect on you. But I think that that's somewhat impossible. I think that it's more frustrating for me now.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, when I first started doing the YouTube videos, I was like, oh, I'm for sure going to get a ton of whatever negative feedback and stuff. And I was kind of like prepared mentally for it. Now when I read it, I'm like more frustrated, I think.
I gotta say, I gotta send you the clip because it's pretty enjoyable. So I was playing a Poker Masters event, the party poker at 10K, right? And the other day, maybe last weekend, and a guy in the chat, I bet full the hand, right? I bet a gut shot with the flush draw, and I river the straight. So I hit my gut shot, missed the flush, but there's two flush draws on the turn, okay? So I'm betting a 7-8 straight, like a gut shot straight with the flush draw, and I river the straight with it makes a flush, and the board's paired. So yeah, I feel like I should have the best hand. It was whatever, but I like, should I check call or bet fold is like what I'm thinking, or go for value. So I end up betting, and it was against Dario Sammartino, and he rips a big raise on me. And I'm like, listen, there's no friends at the poker table. He's also a podcast guest, buddy of mine. That maybe adds like 1%, right? At the same time, everyone's playing hard at each other. It's not like, if he has a hand he thinks he should bluff with or whatever, he's going to do it. But I just like thought about it, and I'm like, man, I think checking back's not good. He's going to check back too many, whatever. I bet, and then I get, and I'm on Twitch and I fold. And like, I already know people are going to lose their shit. Like, this is one of those ones where I'm just going to it's going to be like a pile-on of the Chat Pros United. They're the entity, right? Like, I gotta love them, you gotta respect it. It's what it's all about. But so one guy takes the liberty and just is like going nuts. He's like, dude, this is terrible. Like, I can't watch. I'm unsubscribing, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I'll eat my shoe if that was a good fold. And I was like, luckily I know the player. We're friends. I sent him a message. Hey, by the way, like, nice, whatever. You don't have to say anything. I got a guy telling me he's going to eat his shoe, and I'm getting crushed for this. Just curious, if you're able to send the hand what you had, that would be amazing. If not, no worries. Good luck. Sure enough, he ships me the hand, and he had the nut flush, right? Like, so he had top pair, nut flush. And then I said to the guy, all right, man, like, whatever, here you go. Just like, and I sent it in the chat. I sent the screenshot, goes to them. My main moderator made a thing, and I showed the hand and everything and showed his cards. And then the guy sent me a video of, like, he was literally making out French kissing, one of the nastiest shoes I've ever seen. It's like a 30-second video of him just licking, like it was disgusting, but it was like kind of funny, right? Like, I have this like command Chat Pros on my thing now, right? So it's just kind of nice to get a little bit of like, get people off your back and realize that a lot of the time, and you're right, I feel it. There's times where I'll make a player, it's a big spot, and I'm like, in my head, I don't even know what maybe the best thing is, and it's like kind of like close. And then when you start getting lambasted, you feel a little bit like defensive, or kind of like, oh shit, like maybe I don't even know for sure, but I'm pretty sure. So it's, what I'm saying, like, there is that feeling, and it's kind of uncomfortable at times, because like, you're supposed to be the expert, but it's tough, right? It's a solved game in theory, but we don't always make the right play, and that's why it's so great. But like, yeah, anyway, I just like, that was like a recent, very powerfully, the fact that it all came together, and and then the guy actually like did eat his shoe, was it was beautiful. But yeah, that happens a lot.
I think you're in a unique and slightly different situation from me where, like, if you make a play that's questionable, then you're on like a small delay. So you get the feedback right away when the hand is still like fresh in your mind, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's something that's kind of interesting. But also like you have a good reputation for being like a really good field player and probably using intuition maybe more than most people who are at your level. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, and I mean that's the thing too. I think like I'm known as a little on the more snug side, of course. Like whatever, right? Like in terms of if you were to ask the like poker community what they think, so it's like kind of like times where you make a tight play or something. It's just tough when you believe in your heart that you're making a good play, but GTO like it's not really the right spot or the right thing to do, but you just believe it's right. It's tricky because your cards are face up and you don't actually almost never get to see what they actually had, right? So it's like you're kind of just like going to be at the mercy of people like telling you that, oh, they even, what I'm saying? So it's tricky. Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
tricky. And you catch it right away, right? You catch on a 5-minute delay and people are just like, choo, choo, choo. So it's tough. Yeah, it is tough.
But I also think like there's a pattern of negative comments, and it's people that don't seem like happy people in general for the most part. Some people, they're just having like some fun, and maybe they're ribbing you a little bit, but they're fans. I think, but the pattern that I've noticed is like a lot of the YouTube comments are like misspelled, like poorly constructed sentences, like you suck, just and then like I don't know, maybe like one or two other lines, and just not something to take too seriously. I think the harder comments are when there's like grains of truth and they're not trying to be mean necessarily, but like something just strikes a chord. And they seem like smart, educated people. I think those comments are a little bit tougher.
Yeah, it is. It's a it is. It's hard sometimes. And I don't. How do you deal with interaction on your YouTube channel? Because I try to go through. I don't have as many comments, so it's not impossible. I'll try to go through, hit a thumbs up, and read them and check through and reply here and there. Excuse me. What about you? How do you get? Because like there's no way. You can't go through and comment or reply to everybody. Like and you're getting a ton. I mean, just crazy amount of engagement and stuff. How do you deal with that? Do you kind of scroll through, or is it just like impossible? You take a quick glance, or I mean, you can't go through every one.
Yeah, like the first day, the first maybe 2 days, I kind of look through the comment section just to get a general feel for what the comments are, you know?
Right.
But I don't know how much it helps you to focus a lot on the comments, whether they're good or bad.
Right.
You know, obviously, like the negative stuff, there's not that much negative stuff. I think for the most part, people are pretty positive, and usually the negative stuff means that you're somehow getting new viewers to watch, which is not a bad thing. This is something that Doug Polk told me. He said when you get a lot of negative comments, means it's probably people who aren't like loyal subscribers or whatever. So you did something right with the thumbnail and the title for them to click on it. And then for every, negative comment, there's probably tons or hundreds of other people who watched it who are new to the channel, and maybe some of those people are going to subscribe. So that's kind of like a good way and a good like positive way to look at that kind of thing. So yeah, I go through, I like and comment on a handful of things, and I used to go through and like comment on everything, but it's just become a little bit more difficult. And I think like the positive things, I do like to kind of engage with those comments.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tricky. I talked to Doug as well when I started my podcast channel or my YouTube channel, asking him some stuff in with YouTube, and we got on a phone call and he was sharing with me and just even trying to understand the numbers on like what could expect from generating revenue on YouTube, because I think there's a bit of a misconception on it. I mean, your channel is obviously big. It's pretty. It does cross over into like a real views and real. It can be, but I think people don't really understand the conversion rate for what it means to make money on YouTube and what the reality is. But with that being said, I don't think they also understand the economics where, and maybe I'll let you talk about this some, because I see here on let me just go over here. You have you have the Poker Bros stuff, right? That's something I want you to touch on as well. And if you're doing videos online, so hold that thought. If you're doing any videos on any of the hands here, that's one thing. But two, you have some coaching stuff. You've got poker coaching, the upswing, you know, these type of things. And you got to understand, like, listen, I also have videos and affiliate stuff and Raise Your Edge and courses and different things where people want to know what I'm doing and you're promoting it. So that's where that's the real money I would imagine. Like, even with your numbers, the actual money monthly from YouTube, similar to Twitch, it's not like significant in theory, but the overall brand recognition and then the other products that you're able to that you believe in, that you are able to endorse with your, knowing that they're good and you use them and believe in them, that those are serious. They can add up very quickly. And I don't, obviously people always want to know how much do you make, what's your address, what do you, your personal social, mother's maiden name, very private information. But could you maybe just talk a bit about like the percentage or how it works, that the ecology of YouTube, because that's sort of like just break that down, how that works, and without giving specific numbers, of course.
Well, in the beginning, so YouTube is now a pretty significant number for me, but I feel like I'm probably the only person in poker that's true for.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, because I'm looking at, my numbers for what I go off of, and same with Twitch. Like I stream not all the time, but like the actual money on Twitch between subscribers, revenue, ad revenue and stuff, it's fine. Like, it's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that is not going to sustain my lifestyle based on just those numbers. But like when you get a sponsorship deals, you're doing mug, you're doing games, you've got different, I can't imagine like the numbers you have on YouTube and these type of programs, which I'm involved with, that is good money. Like, I know, it's got to be crazy, right? Some of these like affiliate deals, and now, you got a handful, that stuff adds up like very quickly. So, that explain a bit of like the difference and like how that works, if you would.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I'll kind of just do like a broad view first, and then I'll kind of go narrower and narrower. But like I first started out 3.5 years ago doing YouTube stuff, and if I could make like $100 a month, like that was great.
Right. Yes. Yes.
First beginning, and then slowly that trickled, that it started adding up as you put out more videos and more subscribers and all that, and then it was getting to a point where it's like hundreds of dollars, and now it's at a point where it's like thousands of dollars every month. So I mean, it is pretty significant, but it took me like 2.5 years before I ever reached like $1,000 in monthly YouTube ad revenue, and I was just so pumped up about that, man, because you put in so much work, and especially since I'm editing all my own videos, it just like was not worth it if you're just doing it for revenue. You like really have to love what you're doing and enjoy it to get to a point where it's actually like making money. But I think, Bart Hansen, he was actually the first person to reach out to me to see value in doing marketing through my channel. So he has Crush Live Poker, and which I don't even have affiliate links up for in like videos now, because I'm working with other coaching sites and stuff. But anyway, the affiliate stuff, it's kind of a small number, but then that's like gradually built up throughout the years and stuff. So it's all it's all adding up, and now I'm in a good spot where even with the coronavirus going on, like I'm still able to make a decent amount of income. Like obviously took like a huge hit, especially with the YouTube revenue, since advertisers are paying about 40% of what they were a year ago at this time.
Right.
And so that makes it like really tough, but the channel's getting a lot of views. Like now I'm kind of out of content, so I need to get creative, have a few more ideas for videos that are not like poker vlogs, but I took a ton of notes and on like hands and like how I was feeling my first year as a professional poker player, and I still have all my stats. So I was thinking about doing a video about my first year as a pro, like the things that I did well and the things that I really messed up on, like bankroll management and a few other big mistakes that I had made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So speaking of like the online stuff, with the app, and you're playing on doing some playing like you have it there where you're showing, is that something, do you think, would that make sense to screen record and do hand reviews on your online, or do you think it's not really, do you think that it's just like going to dilute or not be, since it's such a different thing? It's not even like a Twitch live stream, like, thing. It's like you'd be playing like on your phone or on the tablet, recording it, putting it up. Like, do you think that would just be would that make sense? Are you going to do that? Would you maybe even start a different channel for that or something? Have you thought about that, where you just have like a Brad Owen online or Brad Owen, review or something? Like, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I'm not like that interested in doing a video of just selecting hands from like a session that I played and reviewing them. I don't think that the audience would really like that. And it's kind of important to keep the momentum that the channel has. And if people get notifications that I'm putting up videos of like online play and that's just something that they're not interested in, maybe in the future when I start putting back like live videos, they won't be as inclined to click on those. So I am kind of worried about like alienating that segment of the subscriber audience, if that makes sense. But I do think like I do want to stay in touch with people and I do want to still create content around poker. So I think live streaming and then maybe potentially even like taking down the live streams, because it's just so fun to chat with people in, like on a slight delay or whatever, or almost in real time. That I do want to like continue to do stuff like that. But I think making a video of like the 10 biggest hands that I played or something similar makes sense for me to do during this time. And I think we maybe have like a month or like 2 months left tops of like no live poker. I think we'll be back hopefully somewhat soon.
What is your guess? What are you hearing in Vegas particularly? Because I know, listen, these casinos and sports books, of course, sports in general is just such a massive, unprecedented situation. What do you think? What do you think can be done in Vegas in particular? When do you feel that they will actually open the doors? And maybe you've been in touch with Red Rock or people like trying to get a feel, because I guess they make blanket statements, right? Or they say, okay, we're trying to, maybe we'll open it, we'll slowly. Maybe there's some things with slot machines or tables, like we're only one person or two or every other. So like there are things that could be potentially tried or done. Like, when do you think the doors to Vegas casinos open?
From what I'm hearing, I get the sense that it's going to be some point between the middle of May and end of May. But I don't know that poker is going to be reopened even as the doors open to the public.
Yeah, I think that's one of the last things, like in the casino, right? Because it's like, yeah, you're in a close proximity at a table, touching chips, sharing like very all the time. Like it's just, I don't know. It seems like you're very close with people there. So that
Yeah.
like, unless it doesn't make sense to make it four-handed or six five, three-handed poker. Like that was, some people were saying that, but I was like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know. I don't really know when poker is going to be back open, I guess. I don't even know like how I feel about it, like whether I want it to be back open sooner or not. Like I definitely want people to be safe and smart about everything. The stuff that I'm hearing from the mayor, I don't, agree with that. Like that's been like international news, what she's been saying. And I don't know. I just think it's like a whole scary thing, and there's not like an optimal solution that everybody's going to agree with necessarily.
Right. Yeah, it's tricky. There's a lot of different information. I hear people. I think it's sort of it's polarizing, right? You got guys that are like, "This is the end of the world, and I'm not leaving the house." And then there's people that are just out on the beach and they're doing their normal day, and it's like, whatever. It's like if you're young and you don't have respiratory issues, you're not elderly, like whatever. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions in general. And it's like, listen, I'm not a scientist. You're not a scientist. I look at the news. I talk to some of the smartest people that I can get my hands on and ask them what they think, what they're doing, and kind of go from there. But it's really tricky, right? Because it's like,
tell us what's going on, because you have like an insane network of people that you're friends with. So what's kind of the general sense amongst people who are, like the Bill Perkins and those kind of people?
Yeah, I had Bill on right around. I was telling you I was in Russia right before I was like, when I left the area. It was pretty scary time, and had him on for an hour, and I put it up on my podcast channel, also just kind of talking about what it is, but really it's about exponential growth and the R naught, right? That's the biggest thing about these viruses. Is like, what is the R naught? How much is each person infecting another person at what rate? Kind of that movie Contagion, they actually talk about that too. It's like very similar sort of situation. But yeah, they're saying it's very serious. It's a real thing. You want to social distance. You want to sit back, and I have a lot of my friends saying they won't put their kids in school until January at the earliest, as of no matter what happens or what is said or done. When you start hearing stuff like that, you start realizing like that's pretty crazy. Like that's that's a long time, right? That's like summer, plus. And it's bizarre. Like you got to think about how many people it impacts weddings. Like I have friends in people's weddings. There's funerals. There's like court cases. There's all of like life is sort of just like paused. Taxes are pushed back. Like the whole world is like legitimately on its head, and it impacts all the way up, right? Just like everything in the, poker is one of the things with the apps and online people playing stuff, like where it's sort of numbers are probably booming and doing sort of well, like Netflix or a Peloton, right? But other than that, other than select niche industries, it's pretty debilitating. Restaurant owners, shop owners, like just, it's, I saw you're doing some charity stuff as well, right? With dealers and trying to raise money. Cause you got to realize like there's so many people that are really directly impacted their career, or they're living paycheck to paycheck, or just in general, right? It's just tricky. Like the whole life sort of balance is sort of off. People are at home with their girlfriend, marriage, people all the time, right? Just like your day-to-day life is just so changed, and the whole like balance and flow is just like off, right? And it's just like everything's it's a bit off. It's crazy time. I don't know what else to say. I get fired up because it's like it's just so wild, and I think there's so much misinformation out there. And not saying I'm an expert, but just like I just hear such contrasting beliefs within even like a friend circle. You got guys that are like, this is bullshit, it's a scam, or it's like it's a this, and then the guys are like, no, this is like Armageddon, like this is really bad. So it's just like when you hear like these type of things, you kind of get lost. Like, what do you believe? And it's you got to sort of make a choice on your own, right? Because it's not easy. It's like you got to like use common sense and just do the best you can, and that's really what you can do. So yeah, where do you fall on it? What do you think?
I think probably it's just somewhere in the middle, man. It's obviously like a terrible thing that's happening, and it's a serious thing. It's a serious issue. In the beginning, I didn't think it was that serious. Just like I thought it was kind of the media trying to scare us a little bit.
Right.
And it's become clear that it's a big deal. So I look at the how many people are affected in the U.S. pretty much every day, and it's over 1 million. And I think the last time I checked, it was like around 60,000 dead in the U.S. So like the flu kills a fraction of that. It kills I think like 10 to 20,000 a year usually. And
I thought well, I'm not sure on the numbers. I think the flu kills a lot, like million or a lot of people.
Maybe worldwide, but not in the U.S. and
yes, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so it's and statistics are a crazy thing, math, right? Like you could take so many things and attribute it and say this or say that, or countries are manipulating their numbers. Or Russia, China, you just hear these different things. Like what is it? Was it pneumonia? Was it the COVID? How are they like displaying it? How are they positioning it? And there's a lot of interest, right? There's a lot of countries with their own benefit, or their own way of spinning things for their own benefit, in different organizations. So it's a very complex issue, right? It's just one of those things where it's very tricky. So yeah, man, I don't know. When do you give the Brad Owen over under? When will you be live in a casino playing poker again? What's your guess? If you had to just throw it out there, obviously it's.
I think for me it would probably be like sometime in the second half of June, and just I think casinos will be reopening, and I won't really be going to casinos to be playing poker, even as they reopen necessarily like right away. I just kind of will gauge like how that's going, and then I'll start playing. It's weird because like I obviously need content, but if I make a video of me playing out there, then that's kind of like supporting this idea that it's okay to like go out and play live poker, and I don't know that that's really what I want to be doing.
Right. Do you have a Twitch stream? Are you thinking? Do you have one currently? Are you thinking of having one, or you do have a Twitch?
I think that I don't have a Twitch right now. I'm not sure if I want to like start a Twitch channel, or is that what you guys call it? Is it called a Twitch channel, or is it called something else?
Yeah, Twitch stream.
Stream. Yeah. It's like for YouTube, it's like a YouTube channel,
Right. Yeah, Twitch channel. Twitch, I guess that's what I call it. I don't even know. Either one, Twitch stream, Twitch channel. So what are your reservations about that? What are the reasons you would or wouldn't want to do that?
The reason I would want to do it is because it would kind of keep it slightly separate from YouTube, and that's great because it's like different content for one thing, and then also it's not great to have all your eggs in one basket with YouTube. Like I just got a strike with YouTube. I had another strike before. They removed the strike, but it's just been so frustrating dealing with the people within YouTube and the AI and all this shit, man. It sucks. Like they just arbitrarily flag things, remove videos, and hand out strikes, and you don't really know. Like you did the whole Vloggers in Paradise thing. So you guys got hit really hard with that. I don't know about your channel specifically, but I imagine like they took down a lot of those videos for you, right?
I had 60 videos down for like 7-8 months or something. That it just looked like it was gone, and then kind of Jamie Staples took initiative on stuff. I was talking with Chen or Lester there, and got it back up. I think I have all but like 10 back up, and it was weird because two of my podcasts got taken down as well with Rob Young, both with him for some reason, and also one with Daniel Negreanu. I don't know why those are removed. Like maybe it was some kind of and I haven't got the full answer on that, but it's strange. It's just kind of like bizarre, right? Like I feel like it's like, again, our industry is sort of gray poker, like negative connotations, which sort of I feel like it's demasking. It's sort of not, I think it helps a lot, the YouTube, Twitch, these type of things. But then there's like the Apostle situation, and just every time like stuff sort of gets like, feels like it's gonna just lighten up and open up. Like there's like, oh, and it's like, oh yeah, I have to like be careful about what I post or how I post it, and
Right.
it's it's a weird feeling, right? Like you said, and it is like you don't really have control necessarily. There's bots and flagging for whatever reason. So how many videos have you had removed in total?
Well, only one has stayed removed. So there were a handful that were removed, and then 2 that I got strikes for, including my most recent one. And then after I appealed them, they were basically all put back up except for one, which was like a really cool video for me. It was I won the most money that I ever won in a session on Live at the Bike, and they removed that video. So that was like really frustrating for me.
What was the, what do you think do you know the reason, or what was the claim, or why did they say that?
Yeah, at first I had no idea, and I was like, because I hadn't watched the video in a long time, so I was just like, why is this video getting removed like 3 years after I put it out, like, or 2.5 years? Like, it doesn't even make sense. And then I thought back about it, and I was like, okay, I think I did actually promote party poker in that video.
Right.
So I assumed that's what it was. It was like some kind of contest, and it wasn't even through like party poker. It was like through VIP grinders or whatever, who reached out to me and asked me to do some affiliate stuff like through them for party poker.
Right. Yeah, I have one video that had over 500K, and that video was the one video that got removed initially, like for a period of time for no reason. And it was literally the exact same as all my other formats. There's nothing different, nothing in the links or anything different. No difference of any style other than just a highlight video from one of a big final table run. And for some reason that was the one like down. It was super tilting too. I was like, this is my biggest by far watch video, and it's just gone. For I got up back eventually, but I still, I don't really understand like why or what happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it's good to be diversified. It's good to not, it's good to have some other things cooking, because things change, right? And just the videos change, the what people like changes, new platforms come up. But there's no question. I mean, you're doing something, it's pretty cool. I mean, poker's a big industry. Poker's a big, it's a niche, but it's still pretty large. And to be the number one in YouTube, right there, you and Andrew, doing your games live, and then having this sort of separation between everyone. It's cool. Like, it's got to feel good. I mean, that's you won GPI. How many GPI awards have you won now? The Global Poker Index.
I've only won one. I won Personality of the Year or something, People's Choice.
Yeah, I remember that. I watched your video on that actually acceptance. It was funny because like you weren't up for Vlogger of the Year when you were trending, or maybe it should have won Vlogger of the Year that year, and you weren't even either in the category, or Doug Polk was in it and he hadn't put a video out. I was up for that year too, Streamer of the Year. Jason Summerall like hadn't streamed the entire year, and it was just bizarre.
A bunch of people were left out for that one too. Those were the 2 big categories that like didn't even make sense. And I was talking to Jason like quite a bit about that at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I was nominated as well, and that was like, I hadn't put in as many hours or whatever. Like I was kind of like, oh, that's cool, but I was like, yeah, and there's guys really grinding. There were some of the up and coming top guys in there, and it was just like, it was a bizarre, like to see see Jason in there, and then Jamie and myself too. Like we both, we were putting good hours. Like we felt like we could have been on the list, but probably shouldn't have been. And it was just kind of like, it was all just sort of weird, It was just kind of didn't know what to say to it. So like, it looks like they've cleaned up the system for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be tough to get it exactly right, but they do the best that they can, and like something that Eric, who is in charge of it all, he wants to get right going forward.
Right. Yeah, no, it's not perfect. I actually have some pretty interesting stuff, but we'll chat coming up here. I have some, in content and poker. I do think there's a pretty big gap in a missing niche for content and poker, and just like what's going on, how it's presented. There's Twitch, there's YouTube, there's like people put Instagram stuff, but I just feel like there's there's a bit of a missing a need of people that want to have sort of more available content and interactive, right? To have more kind of engagement. And I think you're sort of doing that with the mugs, like the live game stuff, but finding a way to get people involved and have them be, because I say this story again, Doug Polk's very polarizing, but when 2017, I started vlogging, I had a camera and I was at a table at a World Series, like a 1500 event. And a guy came up to me, and I'd streamed for a few years on Twitch, and I just started like a couple weeks ago on YouTube. And the guy came up all enthusiastic to me. He was like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Like, I was like thinking he was gonna say, "I love your stuff," or something. He's like, Doug Polk? He was like, I'm here because of him. He was like, I'm here. I saw his videos. I live in California. I haven't played poker in 2 years, but I watch his stuff. And now I'm here at the World Series. And I was like, man, stuff like this, like certain examples like this keep coming up. And I'm like, it's like so powerful. Like content is needed from you, from Andrew, from Twitch, from podcasts, from other things. Like people, if you want the game to grow, in the US now, you can't, like that used to be, there was a system, right? People would come up, they'd be in college, they'd play online, they'd play. Like poker could die or really take a hit if there's not new people getting engaged, old people that or people that used to play getting back into the game. And really the way it happens is YouTube or Twitch. I'm convinced of it. Like it's just how it is. Like I see it, I hear it, I watch it. And, I think that's it's very important. I think, it's something that people that don't really understand quite really give enough credit, I think, to that.
Yeah, I mean, guys like you and Jamie and basically the whole like Run It Up crew was doing like such a great job on Twitch, and for the most part, me and Andrew were trying to, and Doug, and we were all trying to do things on YouTube. And like when you and I were first getting involved in poker, I think maybe you're 2 years older than me or something.
You're 30 or 31, 32?
32.
Yeah, I'm 33. So yeah, say about the same.
Like I was watching like Poker After Dark and all these like high stakes games that were on TV, and that was just like a blast. And the WSOP footage, obviously, like every year I was so excited to watch like all those episodes when like Moneymaker and Raymer and all those guys were winning it. But now like it's not really on television nearly as much as it was, and the stuff that is on there like isn't nearly as exciting in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. And like, that's sort of your point. You talked about it. You want to get people talking, engaging, interacting. It's like the same. I feel, I think one of the biggest problems is I got to get this clip with Matt Savage was on here not too long ago. And he was talking about, cause I was asking him, it's like, it seems wrong what they're doing. And I think it's actually not even understood correctly that the rule about talking, like when I'm at a table, a dealer, if I'm on the river, heads up in a pot, and I say to a guy, man, what do you have here? Like, I think you have ace king. Like that is so frowned upon. Like the dealer's like, no talking about a hand. No, you can't talk about anything but the weather. It's not actually right. Like Matt Savage, actually, I asked him about specifically, and I need to get the exact wording, but that's like not a problem. But they literally, dealers shut you down. And it's like, I even feel uncomfortable about like talking, because I just feel like every time it's like, hey, you can't do that. It's wrong. And then you call the floor, and the floor doesn't seem to know, or it's like, hey, no, no discussing your hand or something. Now, fast forward to January of this year, I was in the UK playing at Dusk Till Dawn, and who's a better vocal spokesperson than William Kassouf is there, and he was at my table. He's in there. I got ace king. You got to fold. I know you have kings. you got to fold, man. Fold your hand. You're no good. I got the nuts. Like he's doing that, and that's fine. And they like let that happen. And then in the U.S. and like majority of the places, WSOP, WBT's places, you can't even say like, I think you have a good hand here, man. I don't know what to do. It's like, and you're just like this. Like it makes me uncomfortable. And imagine you or me, who's like very comfortable with doing footage and talking and commenting and vlogging, and guys that are like there for the first time or new, they're just like terrified, and guys are just like in their little thing, like don't want to get yelled at, don't want to get a thing. So I think there needs to be some sort of statement, some sort of clarification and a redone, like Jamie Gold sort of ruling, right? Like this is sort of what like shut things down, and from here on, it like everything's been, I feel like since that day, it's been just like don't talk.
I mean, I think you should be able to do a lot of stuff. Like I think, like why can't you expose your own hand? You know, like at the end when you're like facing like a river decision and stuff. Like I don't really see anything wrong with like showing my hand and being like, is this good here or what? And like it used to be a little bit more like the wild, wild west where you could get away with that kind of a thing. I don't think you can get away with that at all.
That's what I'm saying. So here's the problem. Here's what I think is happening. It's actually a really interesting, how I would look at it is like COVID-19 analogy. So COVID-19, it's serious. It's a thing. It's going on right now. In theory, what's the real like way of transmitting it? They say it's maybe airborne, like or whatever. But like if you say, all right, everyone you can go to the beach. You got to stay, if you stay 8 feet apart from each other and don't interact, it's not a problem, right? Let's say that was the ruling. The problem is 90, people aren't going to follow that exactly. It's going to be 4 feet, 3 feet. People are going to start talking. People are going to think it's like, so there's just, it's like, I think the overall consensus was by these tournament directors and places and things are saying, let's just make a blanket statement. It's too gray. It's gotten too out of hand. Let's just shut it down. And I think it's gone from like, wow, Umberto Brenes and Mike the Mouth Madison, these old school like characters, animations, and engagement to like nothing. And I think it's wrong. So I think it's hard to get back to that median. I got to find this clip with Savage, because I'm telling you, I literally asked him, and he's like, no, that's not right. You can do this or that. So it's like there is people are not informed, and I don't even know the right answer. I just know it's not what we are taught now. It's not right. Like you can't talk at all. And that's what's happening, and it's not good.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know, guys. Maybe we should figure this out, because it would be. And I kind of the way Savage sort of was like, I could tell like how it was kind of like we were talking. It was sort of like that. He was basically like, I was sort of saying, yeah, it makes sense, I guess, because if you don't do it that way, there's going to be too much going over the line, and it's too whatever, or too much people taking advantage. So I think it's that's the problem. We need a better like general like medium, not nothing. So anyway, that's my rant. What about your upcoming what would be the earliest, like what in terms of streaming or playing online? Do you have an account set up? Are you out of the country on Stars Party 888? Do you have stuff like, would that be a thing you might go drive to Mexico or Canada, play some online, like on these sites, get set up, or what's your
I would love to do that with like any of those sites. I'm on WSOP right now, and I'm playing on the Poker Bros app, and those are kind of the two things that I can do from Vegas.
Right.
And I'm like content with that, but I mean, yeah, doing like anything with any of the big companies would be great.
And is that something that would you want to be? Is that like something in your mind? Like if you were to be sponsored by a site that you believe in and their goals and values, or not even sponsored, like do you feel that there's something to be done with like Party Poker, let's say, to go to some of their stops or tours or some of these things? Like I know Andrew's dabbled, and Andrew and I worked on the PSPC when I was with Stars, did that big promotion, which was a lot of fun, and he played that event. Are you looking to do some of that? Are you doing some of that currently with any of these brands?
So it's crazy, man. The brands, they have basically turned a blind eye to everybody on YouTube almost. So Andrew's worked with Party. He's worked, obviously with Poker Stars and 888, but it's been kind of standalone projects or whatever, or events. And I've recently 888 reached out to me, and I went to Spain and played their event, and I did 2 videos from there. That was the first thing that I've done with any of the big poker companies, and that was great, man. Like they were really happy with it. I had a great time. The viewers like really liked like the coverage from the event.
Right.
And so we were going to be in talks about potentially working together in the future in like bigger ways. But yeah, Party hasn't really done much. And it's interesting. Like obviously these big companies are doing live series events. And I think that we have a ton to offer to these companies in terms of like social media and getting views and just getting brand awareness out there. I think that it's easier for them to make the connection with the Twitch streamers who are playing like directly on their site, and you know, to get people to sign up and so they see more money there, which makes sense. I mean,
it's also a bit complicated. I mean, obviously, I think you, Andrew, some others. You know, I am born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in the U.S. It's trickier with the U.S. because of the market, right? Like let's say the lights get turned back on. Which Pennsylvania passed, Michigan passed, New York, one or two more. Like at some point, you know, it's the U.S. will get it together. I mean, they will figure it out. It's going to happen. Like, and now sports passed at a federal level, right? Which is a massive deal.
Right.
This was a huge breakthrough, and there's a lot of piggyback and a lot of gaming just passed in states. So it's like state by state has the choice. With that being said, you know, there is opportunities, and I think it's just going to become more and more popular. Where do you stand with the what about sports? Do you bet on sports? Do you like sports? Have you thought about doing some sports stuff?
I love sports. I think since I try not to bet on sports. I try not to do anything really outside of poker in terms of gambling. But you know, sports betting is like a huge market that's kind of like poker adjacent, you know. So getting into sports betting from my standpoint, it makes sense. Like if you just want to go after money and stuff, like working with DraftKings or like working with these poker sites that are now getting into sports betting and all that, like it makes a ton of sense. And if I was a profitable sports bettor, I had like some insight that was valuable for other people, I'd feel comfortable doing it. But since I don't, it's hard for me to wrap my head around like betting.
Like the Vegas Dave or one of these Instagram guys and be like, whale pick, and you know, like trying to promote people where you don't have any expertise. I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I like DraftKings. I think it makes sense, right? Like that's those type of fantasy things are cool. But like when you start talking about betting sports and doing stuff, like, you know, it's just like anything. You kind of need some info, or you need to, you know, you can't beat it's basically impossible to beat the juice, right? So it's like, you know, sports can be it's like sports slots. You know, there's different levels of gambling, what you're trying to promote, how you're doing it, and who you're, you know, what way you're doing it. So it's a bit tricky, but I do think like sports is, you know, kind of that next, it's connected. It's close, right? It's a close spot. So.
Right. I mean, like Jason Somerville, he does great with sports betting, and you know, he's more involved in that whole scene, and it makes sense for him to be doing that. And like, he could potentially provide insight for people. Since I'm not at that level, I wish I was, because I really love sports, man. Oh, by the way, were you roommates with Michael Phelps, or how did that?
Yeah.
What was that relationship exactly?
Yeah, I lived with him from 2008 till 2015. So just him and I, and he actually, well, now his wife, and who was, they were engaged for part of that time. But then, you know, I actually met my wife, got a place in Vegas, and was sort of the last year or two of that was in and out of there. But yeah, I mean, I met him at a poker table, actually playing like $1, $2 at Casino Windsor. It used to be Casino Windsor, now Caesars Windsor in Canada. It was about a 30-minute drive from Michigan, from Ann Arbor, and you could be 19 to gamble there. So we met in summer. He was going to University of Michigan in 2006, and I was there, and we met, hit it off, became friends, and now, you know, that was where I met him, playing poker actually.
So at that time, what was like the hype like around Michael Phelps, and like when you met him? Like, was it known that he was just going to be like the superstar?
Well, so he had already done the 2000 Olympics in Sydney at like 15. He didn't medal. I think he got, you know, he was there. And then in 04, he won, I believe, 6 gold and 2 bronze. So he was already like, you know, well on the map. But then I actually didn't know who he was. I mean, I didn't really pay attention to the Olympics, you know, other than just, you know, watch some basketball or whatever here and there. I didn't know about him. And I never didn't know his name. I met him. I didn't know who he was. And then, quickly learned he was like a high, won a bunch of medals and was whatever. But then in 08, that's like, he won the 8 golds, 8 08, and the Olympics were there. And then he won 8 gold medals that time. And that was actually pretty crazy because that was June, July, August of 08. I was there, and then I went to school like a month late. Like I was my last year of college, or I think, or yeah, last semester. I had one extra semester, and then I came late. And then after, he actually came down to South Carolina like a month and a half after that happened, and he was there for like 2 weeks, and just like we'd go out, and like it was just like the crazy, people were like, it was just wild times. Like he was maybe the most famous person in the world for a couple months, right? And like it was just like crazy. And then actually he drove back with me from South Carolina to Baltimore. So like when I was like done with college, and he drove with me, and we took my stuff out, and then just lived there. So it was crazy, man. It was a crazy few years for sure.
Yeah. So what were you doing in South Carolina? Because your buddies with Carter King, right? Too.
Yeah, knew Carter well. So he won that $1 million tournament from his couch. I was actually there. I think when it was like a scoop or something, he won 1 million. I remember that. But I just met him, through some people I knew that played poker, like within the college there. But it was just random. I played soccer in college, so
Okay.
that was one of the places I looked at and just wanted to go somewhere kind of warm and fun, and played soccer. And that was just, there's really no connection. It was just totally random. Went there.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen you do that like World Cup thing in Vegas.
Yeah, it's fun. The Soccer World Cup of do you play at all? We need a
Yeah, man, I would love to play. That'd be awesome.
come in next. Well, should have been coming up here, but I guess it'll be I don't even know, what is the WSOP stance. They said it's pushed back to like fall, but not sure. That's like the stance right now.
That's pretty much what I've heard as well, which I don't like. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to imagine even that happening at this point. Like,
Yeah, I don't think so. Man, you see the WPT push their stuff to Party. They did like some other series and stuff on there. Poker Masters was on Party Poker. I know the GG had circuit events. So like, if I had to guess, I think the WSOP, which is kind of wild to think about, like I think they might do it online. That would be like if you made me bet what's going to happen, that would be what I think. But with that being said, that's complicated. Like let's take yourself or Andrew. You guys say you're in Vegas. You got to go online. You got to go get set up on a site. You got to get out of the country, like whether or not that's even possible at that time. You got to fly somewhere, drive somewhere, and then you have to go through the hoops to get an account set up. So like, how would the numbers be done? Maybe they just wouldn't guarantee the events, I guess, which I guess the WSOP doesn't guarantee most of their events, do they? I don't even think they do.
WSP, I mean, just a handful of them, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that's like a possibility. Now I don't know. Like I just don't know. Like I mean, it's kind of a weird thought, but you see some of these other sites or series trying to do it. But it's kind of funny, right? Because it's like online. What's the difference between a regular tournament on a Sunday and just saying it's a WSOP tournament that's like a buy-in of this? It's kind of like a weird deal. But like you throw the branding on the table and it's like a thing, and get the buy-ins there and people show up. I don't know. Is it the same? No. But I guess you have an asterisk. But they do online bracelets, right? I mean, people have been winning online bracelets each summer. They've kind of segued into it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool just to look on the Hendon Mob and you see like that WSOP logo on there.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like, so how many tournaments you must play? Like just piles of tournaments during a normal WSOP. I don't. Let's say there's like 70 WSOP events. How many are you playing in like a normal year?
It's a good question. I probably like almost 30, because like it's almost like you're 20, actually probably like 25, 20, depending, right, how long how you do in the main, or how many days that takes. But a lot of the times in the past, it was basically play a tournament. Even if you get busted out, oftentimes there's a Parliament Omaha or something else that day. So like some days you're playing 2, 3, even if it's like an online event. They kind of sprinkle those onlines like a lot now. So like there's already like where you're playing online plus maybe live, or if you bust out of the live, you go play online. So a fair amount. But this last year in particular, I had my son was born in April 22nd, so end of April, and I really didn't go to the World Series. I played maybe like 1 or 2 events, I think, or 3, and I played a couple cash games instead while I was there, just because like I was in and out very quickly and different now. I'm definitely like not the full grind WSOP anymore, which is a bit sad, but it's just that kind of time of life.
You're wearing all these hats now. You got the podcast, you got the vlog, the Twitch stream, the family. So you're pretty busy.
Yeah,
You're
it's
for party poker.
It's busy. It's for sure. It's good though. It's fun. It's busy. It's just it's one of those things. Like I like, when I look at you and I see you just like kind of mastered YouTube, I kind of realize and appreciate how much sweat and tear, like into your craft, how much work it takes when you hear you doing 20 hours on vlogs, like one vlog. And I kind of look at your thing here, and it's like, it's interesting too, because you are putting out like this is another question I want to ask you, because I've heard like, oh, it's good to put out a vlog every day or every other day, but I mean, your things are like a couple of months, so it's almost like a movie release. Like it's like people who watch and love your stuff, they like when you say I'm putting out a vlog, they're like, all right, like this is 3 weeks ago, 2, like one a week. Like what is your do you just get them as they go, or do you actually have like, all right, I'm gonna do one a week? Do you shoot for per month, or do you just kind of do it as it fits?
So when we do the meetup games, we pretty much we have an obligation to make a video for every meetup game that we do with the casino. That's how we pitch it. We'll get people in the doors, we'll play poker, video it, and then highlight the property. So so we have to do one, and it just works out for me. Like one a week is kind of the sweet spot. I think it gives like 95% of like the people who are going to watch the video a chance to watch it before like the next one is released,
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah, so that's it seems to work out the best for me, and I can play like a little bit of poker. I'm just like hardly playing any live poker these days, though. Just between traveling to different casinos and then like editing, and it's tough.
Yeah, it's. Have you ever like to go through the journey? Man, I feel like we're talking. I want to cover a lot of like your early. Go back and kind of look at before poker too. I saw you were in a Pizza Hut commercial. I saw a note on that. Is that true? Or are you in
I was in a Little Caesars commercial. I guess you can bring it up. But yeah, if you search like Little Caesars 1992 commercial, we can probably find it somewhat easily on there.
Is your name like tagged in or something, or just type Little Caesars?
I kind of have to see it and guide you. But if you have to search YouTube for it.
Oh, let me go within YouTube. All right, this is exciting. Little Caesars, or
Little Caesars 1992
commercial.
Yeah.
This it?
No. Scroll down. Okay, that one. Oh no. Hold on. Scroll down a little more. Okay. Damn it. Keep going down. That one right there with the girl holding the bunny.
Oh man. All right, let's
should be, yeah. So if you pause it like right here, right, that's me on the right.
This is you in a 92 Little Caesars commercial? What the heck? That's crazy, man. I mean, it's just kind of, that's so like random. I mean, this is amazing to look back on like a 28-year-old ago, what production, what commercials even look like. But what how did that work? Like, did you cast for it? You were in, like, what happened? They paid your family for it? Like, how does that work?
It was an open audition for like all these kids or whatever, and they happened to have it in my hometown in Northern California. And so during the audition process, I don't even remember this, but the director said, okay, or they said, okay, pretend this guy is a fireman, and that's like the situation. And then I just started laughing, and they said, why are you laughing? And I looked at the director and I said, he's too fat to be a fireman. And my mom was like mortified. She was in the audition room. She was like, oh my God, you can't say that, Brad, like behave. And the director thought it was hilarious. And he's like, no, let him go. Like, it's fine. So they hired me. It was a national commercial. So I made like $8,000 on it as like a 4-year-old. And then from that point on, NBC actually wanted me to do something like some TV show or something. So they reached out to this agent that I had, and the agent was terrible. She sent like this black and white, terrible like headshot of me, and then NBC were like, no.
Wow.
But I got like an agent, and then did a few other things after that. They were like small things.
How does that work? Does that $8,000 go into like a fund for you? Did your family get to use it at the time? Is that your poker bankroll? Little Caesars started? What happened?
Well, they let me buy a Sega Genesis, and then they invested the rest of the money. And when I like went broke at one point in poker, I dipped into it, and yeah, that was so.
Really? So Little Caesars, shout out to Little Caesars there in 92. A commercial might not have the Brad Owen the vlogs, man. That's wild.
Yeah.
My dad's the best, man. He made this he makes notes and kind of goes through like each guest and finds like kind of random, like either I don't know if it's where he gets it. I mean, that's an obscure.
That was your dad found that for you?
Yeah, he's got that. That was in like my notes for today. That was, you know, in a little. I think he said Pizza Hut, but I mean, or maybe it was just pizza. But I did see a commercial.
In the first video that I ever put out, I was so nervous. I said like, I think I mentioned that. I said my life peaked at 4 when I was in a Little Caesars Pizza Hut commercial, which obviously makes sense.
Right. That's what must have been that. Maybe I saw. Maybe it was in both. Both was worded there. Interesting. Well, that's. I mean, that's pretty. That's a random tidbit. It's kind of that's fun to be in. Explain what Bradley dollars are, because you referenced this. Is that just basically you're saying like when you're playing, like if someone gets your money or not, like if they get some of your money, or what is a Bradley dollar?
Yeah, it's roughly equivalent to 1.5 US dollars.
Okay.
No, it's just been kind of a fun thing back and forth with people who come to the meetup games who are after my money.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, it makes sense, right? Like, yeah, it's one of those things. They want to. Do you find people gun for you a little more? Do you see some pretty crazy hands when you're playing these live games? You think the atmosphere is a little looser and more laid back and fun, and people are playing a little splashier?
Yeah, as cash game players, there's no Hendon mob or any way to kind of have your place in poker. You know, if you just play cash games, no one might ever hear of you, which was kind of a reason that I started doing the poker vlogs. Like I wanted something to show for my time as a professional cash game player. But people come out and they have a chance to get some of my money and be on a vlog potentially, and that's why they show up to the meetup games. And if they are on the vlog, then that's going to be on the internet forever, and it's going to kind of show that they were poker players. And maybe 20 years from now, they could show their kids or grandkids or whatever that they beat me, or maybe they bluffed me, or maybe the bluff didn't work out, and I got them.
That's awesome. Yeah. And what about because how do you feel about like a journal? Do you keep logs and notes and whatever? Or do you kind of look at this as like, it's kind of fun if you look back through your career and now it's been 3.5 years. I mean, it's pretty fun. Like, you look in the future, you go back, like a lot of these sessions blend together, right? Like, it's like, oh, I was play at the Red Rock. I played in this, I was there. What year was this? And then you can like go back and, you look back to kind of how you've changed, how styles have changed, how your games evolved, and sort of look at it almost like a very fancy journal. Do you think of it like that at all, or any of the reason you enjoy doing that, where it's like you're kind of documenting your ride?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the coolest parts about it, is to have this part of my life in such a unique profession, out there and saved. So I'm really happy with this whole process, and I think that I'm gonna think it's even cooler in like 20 years from now when I look back and I do show my kids or something.
Speaking of kids, relationship, you segue right in there. How are you? I know you do have a serious girlfriend you've been with for how long now?
We have our 2-year anniversary, Cinco de Mayo.
Very nice. Coming up, almost here. 2 years. That's a big one, man. 2 years is a big deal, man. I don't want to put any pressure on you. Just saying, like, that's nowadays I feel what I've heard, that's sort of like that's like the time where you get, not saying like married or not. I'm just saying that's like a time of like, all right, do I want to, is this the person? Is everything good? So that's 2 years a big milestone. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not gonna add any pressure or anything. Like that's just that's a serious relationship. That's not a fling.
She's texting me right now as this convenient timing. So she's been putting a little bit of pressure on lately, man. 2 years is a long time, and she has two little girls who are one just turned 9, and the other one is going to turn 7 in August. So I think that's kind of been the more like reason why I've maybe taken a little bit longer than I might under other circumstances. It's
Right.
just a different thing, man. When there's more pieces that have to fit together,
Yeah.
then I think it's important to take your time on like such a big decision. And like they come over during quarantine a lot. Like they might come over today, even potentially, and they swim and they use the hot tub and stuff here. And then they spend the night, and they're just so loud.
Kids are, I mean, I know that I have nieces, nephews. That age is yeah, it's all active. Everything's kids are kids, man. It's just one of those things. They're the best. It's a lot of fun, but it's a whole nother, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of responsibility, and it's is that something would you like to have? You reference kids in the future. Is that something that you'd like to have?
Yeah, 100%. So I definitely want kids of my own, and I love her girls. Like they're great and everything, but like sleep is obviously something that's really important for poker players, and they get up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, and that's kind of rough. And then like it's all hardwood floors in here, so it just amplifies everything, which
Right.
makes it even more rough. And I'm concerned about how much my life will be affected just in terms of like being able to play poker optimally and being able to create content and just being productive in general under like that situation. So,
Right.
so those are just my concerns, and she knows that.
And
Yeah, I love her and I love her kids, and I see things like moving forward, but I kind of want to like just buy a bigger house, and I think that alleviates a lot of those concerns that I have.
you got to protect those Bradley dollars out there on the live games. You can't, every pot matters, right? You gotta fight for it, man. It's serious. Kids are no joke. I think it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it is something about, like, I've heard most of my friends that have had children describe it, and you can kind of feel like there's just levels of responsibility. When you're single and you have not a care in the world, you can travel, go anywhere, do whatever you want, whenever you want. There's like a little less of like, this is that or that. Once you have a serious relationship, you start thinking, okay, well now, I need to have a little more responsibility. When you have a child, all right, like they're gonna have to go to college, they're gonna have school, they're gonna have this, there's gonna be expenses. Like everything just becomes a little more like almost focused, centered, grounded, motivated to like to be more efficient, right? Because it's like you start realizing that you're a man. It's you ultimately are going to be responsible to provide, right? So it's like different levels of responsibility. But yeah, it sounds like you're moving the right direction and crushing the industry. It's great. I do want to, before we take questions, I want to just ask, what are your family, your brothers, sisters, or your family, what parents, what was their kind of view on you playing poker when you got into it?
Yeah, I'm an older brother, and that played a lot into my poker career and just being like competitive by nature. Us growing up, like playing sports, together, and he helped me out in a lot of ways. What's up?
What sports growing up? What
I
kind
played soccer almost my whole life until freshman year of high school. I just wanted to get football a shot, so I played freshman football, and then I went back to soccer sophomore year.
I didn't know that. So you got some game then. So we definitely, bro, what have you been doing the last few years? Come on, man. You're not hopping in the World Cup team. It's open invitation. Like it's USA, bro. It's country. You're in. Like you got to be in the net. Would you like to play in that?
I would love to play. Go to my Instagram again if you can pull that up.
Yeah. Got it up here. Okay.
Scroll down. There's a clip of me like playing soccer at some point. It'll just be a video of me in a field. There it is, right there. Yeah.
Might be loud. I think I might.
Oh, it should be in slow-mo. So.
Oh, look at that. No, you're signed. That's in. You're on this squad. That's all we need to see. That was good form, good release, good trajectory. There you go. That's damn. That is not. You're righty? What position? What do you got?
Right mid or forward. I can actually play like goalie pretty well too. So
Oh, dude, this is great. I mean, listen, our team's very strong. We won the last year's one. We've won 2 times. We got runner up as well once out of like 5 years. And our we're always I'll tell you what, indoor is very tiring. It is super, super tiring. So bodies are important, like it's a huge advantage. There's some teams that are like 6, 7 total or 8, and like they can't really sub. When we have like 10, 12, 14, it's like, you're fighting for breath. Like the GTO is like 2 minutes on, get off, right? Because you're just like gasping for air. So, every year we've been, by the end of it, there's an injury or people are tired or people have to go, or, there's people in tournaments kind of in and out. So it's like, it's just tricky, right? So bodies are important. And yeah, that would be great, man. So let's lock that in.
Yeah, I'm in.
I didn't know you played. That's cool. That's very cool. All right, so and sorry to interrupt you. Sports soccer, so family. What about they support? My parents, they say, "Oh, poker's cool. Poker's good. Do what you love," or was it like, "No, do not do this"?
So my dad was in the casino industry for like right when I was probably getting interested in poker. Maybe I was in middle school and in high school. He was in the casino industry, so he had seen basically the worst of it and absolutely did not want me to get involved in it. My mom was kind of the same way. I guess she had an uncle who was really wealthy at one point and lost all of it gambling. So both of them were like super adamant about me not
right
getting into that industry, and they paid my college tuition for undergrad and stuff, and so they deserve to have like some say in what I do professionally, since they invested so much time and money into my education.
Where did you go to school? Where, in California? Or?
I went to the University of San Diego, and then so I went to University of San Diego. I had a degree in accounting, and I just thought that was like the safest route to get a job after college. And I was good with numbers. Graduated in 2010, and that was like the worst time to graduate, pretty much, with with that major.
Right.
Well, at that time, I won a satellite into the main event. It was like $100 satellite, and that was the biggest tournament that I'd ever played, like $100 at that point.
Wow.
But that gave me the confidence to kind of pursue poker professionally. I had kind of had it in the back of my mind, but obviously, like, my parents didn't want me to do that. I got a job leasing apartments in San Francisco, and I was kind of learning the ropes playing 2-5, probably like a break-even or slightly losing player. But I kind of had like a false sense of confidence, thinking like I was better than I was. And if I could just play poker full time and not focus on anything else, that I could be like a winning player and could support myself.
Right.
So I moved up to Vegas in 2012 after having like some other small tournament wins that were local. And I did do pretty well, and I took it like really seriously.
So how did you get through that? Where they like, these are pretty intense examples of them having reason to be apprehensive. How were you able to sort of like make them feel comfortable, or how did you just did you segue into it? Were you like, oh, I'm going to do this a little bit? Or were you like, no, I'm playing pro. This is what I'm doing fully right now. And like, that's it. Or how did you make them feel okay, or sort of massage that in?
Well, they'd seen me have like some success, especially with the main event thing. And then winning like some other small local tournaments where they had friends that were kind of in those tournaments, and the friends were like, oh, this kid's like has a reputation of being like a good poker player, and I've seen him play and he's good or whatever. That all kind of helped like massage that into their brains that I wasn't just some like degenerate gambler. And so yeah, that helped, but like they were super worried, man. I moved to Vegas when I was 24, and it just didn't really kind of go with like their plan for what they had in mind for my, like they thought I was going to be an accountant for whatever X amount of years and then be like CEO of some big corporation. Like,
sure. Yeah, generally poker is not one of the things that families is saying, oh yeah, that's great, like that's going to be great to do. So yeah, it's cool though that I guess they come around, and they must. What about now? Do they not miss a vlog? Like, I guess that is like are they asking when's the next one, and they're on there commenting and engaged and watch every single one and think it's so cool? Or are they just, is that something they're into?
Yeah, man, they love it now. They're like super supportive now, and they watch every one of them. My dad called me like yesterday or the day before and told me that he saw the most recent vlog and thought I did a good job with it. So to have their support and their approval now, like, means a lot to me. And like, I understand why they didn't want me to pursue it. And I give that advice to like anybody pretty much who asks me now, like whether they should play for a living. I say, probably not. Like, just keep it as a profitable hobby. I don't think it's like the healthiest lifestyle. And I think that you and I are in like very fortunate situations. But the vast majority of like professional poker players don't have the same opportunities that we do. And for a variety of reasons, like it doesn't work out for them. And maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe like they're still glad that they pursued poker, but a lot of them, I think it could just kind of put the rest of their life on hold, you know?
Yeah, you know, the thing I like to say, and I talk about Salax, I think it's one of the more interesting questions with guests and that are successful and have had a longevity in poker is, you know, how they are able to balance, you know, how they got into it, but also realizing that most of us started very relatively young, speaking, and relatively low risk in terms of investment. It's a big difference for myself. For you, starting with $50, $100, $200, $500, you know, a couple $1,000s max risk. Whereas like someone that you may see your YouTube video or a stream and say, you know what, I want to play poker. I'm not really happy with my job. I'm making X amount of money. And they hop in and now they potentially start at 10, 20, 50, 100. Like, let's just say if they somehow went that route, or if even at like 5, 10 or 2, 5, you know, you're talking about, you can lose thousands and thousands pretty quickly if you're just diving in with no work or expertise. So it's a little bit more dangerous. Also age wise, right? If you're 18, 16, 15, 19, 20, 21, you're starting to get into poker. You don't have really many responsibilities. It's a lot different than you're 30, 40, 50, 60, and you start potentially gambling with like a real roll instead of building it from the bottom or whatnot. So it's a little bit of a tricky equation, right? And it's like, so it's not just, it's like a little harder. And I think you're smart and that makes sense. That's how I want to say too. Listen, this is, I like to say it's not a hobby. This is my profession. I also have a lot of different things I'm doing to sort of balance and hedge on what my results. Like, there's times in tournaments in particular, there's a lot of variance. There's a month or 2 or 6 weeks or a year we may not win money or lose money. So it's like, you got to understand that it's not all glamour. It's easy to show a highlight from a big win or a big cash game win, but like reality is it's not all like that. And it's very important, I think, to let people know how it is, right? Like that it's not just going to be like, oh, you're going to quit your job or watch a couple videos of mine and like think you're going to be a winning poker player, and it's not the case most likely.
Right. Yeah. And I think that the people who I tell, like, you know, I think if you're negative about it, the good players, who are going to succeed are gonna do it no matter what and succeed. Like, if you can actually deter people by saying don't do it, those are the people who are probably not cut out for it. You know, I mean, maybe there's a handful of them that could be, but I just think that it's like kind of a net positive thing to just be like, dude, there's a ton of risk, and just make them aware of that. And if they stick around, and you know, maybe they are cut out for it.
I agree completely, and I see that's one thing I know about you, and I like, and I've stuff I've watched and just hear you say that you're very clear about that, letting people know and being straightforward and not trying to like lead people down a path that could be dangerous or harmful for them without sort of like just understanding what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what precautions they can take. And similar, we were talking about sports, right? It's a little bit tricky. Like you know, it's like, listen, at the end of the day, if people have addictive personalities, can't control themselves, like, listen, that's going to be true for a lot of people, no matter what they choose, whether it's, you know, a deep dark web bad thing, or like drugs, alcohol, gambling, whatever, right? Like, there's moderation's okay in a lot of these areas. And with people, it's like you don't know, like, out of it, if you have 500,000 people see your video, is there a chance probably a handful, a small percentage could abuse or take things the wrong way, or you know, lead down? Yeah, of course, that's like anything though. You know, professional athletes or things, right? Like, yeah, 0.001% are going to make it to the NBA or make a living or make, you know, monetize it. But you know, everyone wants to be, you know, a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James, right? Like, they want to be this, and it's not really necessarily realistic. But you know, there's also a lot of benefit you can get in lessons from a game like poker or sports. Like, maybe talk a little about what that means to you, because there's a lot of things you can apply, I think, to real life with you know, downswings or winning, losing. It's like golf, how you handle yourself, how you interact with someone, how do they handle themselves at the table. What
Sure.
kind of lessons or things do you think are beneficial that you get in the game of poker?
I mean, certainly like just being smart with money
Right.
is something that's important. That's like a great skill to have. I mean, you're running your own business if you're going to play poker for a living.
Yeah.
That is that kind of experience is pretty invaluable in my opinion. Just the decisions that you make and how much discipline that you have to be successful, whether that is bankroll management, game selection, the cards you play. That's the biggest attribute that makes somebody successful. And you get that question a lot, like, is poker like a sport? And in my opinion, no. Like is Monopoly a sport? No. And it's kind of like the same thing, but you tend to see poker players be in pretty good shape. You see like these Jason Kuhn guys, and like you play soccer. And I think that if you have discipline in poker and everything that allows you to be successful in that realm, that's going to carry over to the rest of your life. And you're going to have discipline, with your diet and other things, and you're going to be physically healthy a lot of the time. Obviously, there's exceptions to that within poker. So yeah, I think like getting that experience running your own business is really important. And the thing that I like about poker is that you get what you put into it, and you're solely responsible for the success or failure. I mean, obviously, like the run of cards is important to some degree, but ultimately, like the time that you put into it, and how much you're studying and analyzing everything, it's gonna show in the long-term results. So I really like that. And one thing that you hear poker players say that is definitely true is just like never get too up or too down about anything, because things in life can change in an instant. And I think that's probably the most important lesson that a lot of poker players learn.
Right. Absolutely. No, yeah, keep even keeled, right? The highs and the lows. You really don't want to be cocky, and stay humble, and realize that, like, it can turn quickly, and both ways. And also it's important to try to keep that attitude. It's easier said than done, right? It's like a lot easier when winning solves everything, right? You're winning, everything's good, vlogs are good, you don't have to worry as much about this. When you're you're eating it and just not booking L's and maybe questionable things, and hands just seem to worlds conspiring against you, it's a little more difficult to do. But I think obviously we've been in for over a decade in the industry, and we've experienced both, right? We've experienced good runs and bad runs, and everything in between. You touched on studying. What is the Brad Owen? You promote some coaching stuff here in your YouTube, and there's a lot of information out there. There's a ton of different courses and different things. What are you doing in terms of where do you fall with solvers, studying, friends? How do you work on your poker game?
In the beginning, a lot of it was going through hand histories with friends and reading poker books. So back here, I have like a ton of poker books. A lot of them are older. Nowadays, like it's all training sites. I think that's where you can get the best, most relevant information. And if you're a subscriber to like Upswing and PokerCoaching.com, they put out new things pretty regularly, so you can always kind of stay current with like poker trends and cash games or tournaments.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. Whereas like these books, they get outdated and they're not as relevant anymore.
Population tendencies and what kind of understanding what people are doing. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not studying nearly as much as I should, because I'm like focused on everything else, the YouTube channel and doing the meetup games and setting up that stuff. Like I would love to be just like a world crusher, and particularly in tournaments. Like you have like 3.5 or 4 million or something in earnings.
Yeah.
And like that'd be great, man. I would love to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, listen, tournaments are funny too. Like we've had this debate as well. Tournaments are amazing because, like, really, where are you turning 1,000 into 1,000,000 in a thing or whatever, right? There's these special opportunities or events or 5K into, so there is like a huge opportunity, but it's also a lot of people, it can be misleading in some respects, even like the high rollers, right? Guys you see now, they put these 25, 50, 100Ks all the time. Guys are up like 10, 20 million in their Hennon Mob, and they're losers overall. So it's like, just like anything, same with cash games. It's easy to see like wins, and, it's different because there is no actual tracking. So it's like completely different, but tournaments still can be misleading. But it is true that, you do have an opportunity, whereas you're in a cash game at 2-5, what you're going to win 5-10 grand or 3 grand on a good session, right? But like at a $500 buy-in tournament in the right circumstance, you could bank life-changing money in a couple-day period. So there is it's kind of fun that way. And I think it's nice to have a balance, because cash games are going to be more consistent, where tournaments can be downswing or variance, but like you flick in a 1K or a 500 now and again into your regular mix, and it's kind of gives you a bit of a spark too, because it's not, that like you have a chance to break out of, like, maybe you could then upswing the 10, 25 or 50, 100 if you hit a massive score. So it's kind of cool to be able to do both, for sure.
And it's so exciting and like exhilarating to run deep in a tournament. I don't really have that much experience running really deep in any big tournaments, but I I think I made it to day 3 of the monster stack, so that was fun. I mean, that was like a field of like 7,000 people, and to be able to, like, it would have been like getting down to serious money by the end of that day if I had gone further or whatever. Like, that was an exciting day, and like playing the main is so much fun. Haven't cashed in that, but I played it I think 4 times, and just a blast to like just be around there and be in that environment. I don't think there's anything like it. So I do like to take my tournament shots, but I need to definitely improve my tournament game.
For sure. I mean, it's just, tournaments are just so different, right? Because it's a cash game. You're generally deep stacked. If it's a 2-5 buy-in, everyone's got, let's say, the min buy or on average of 100 big blinds or whatever. Whereas in a tournament, like after the tournament starts, pretty soon there's different situations. Your stack size is different. It's always like a puzzle, kind of like, all right, there's this guy here. Can I open this hand, or I shouldn't because I can't call if he jams? It's just like ICM. There's other components to it, and makes it a bit more of a, I think it's also why in Twitch, first of all, online cash games are sort of dead for the most part, or they're much tougher. Whereas like tournaments, it's more exciting because there's a storyline, right? It's like, all right, there's like a gauge on how I get this guy gets that. There's no rebuys, or after the tournament ends, it's like who can outlast. But with that being said, live cash and stuff is very exciting too. Like cash games are, huge pots, and it just depends what you're looking for. What it is. And I think cash games is more sustainable for a living. It's very like the people that play tournaments for a living strictly, like if that is what you are doing only, it is very difficult. And my heart goes out, because it's a grind and it's emotional. Your whole year can come down to a flip, or, a couple period spot where you cooler or get coolered. Whereas in cash game, if you're a solid player and you're in a good game, you're going to win pretty consistently. You're going to go there and get home and likely win the majority of the time, which is it's just a kind of different way of doing things. But it's tricky. I think cash games are the more logical way of making a living playing poker if you don't have any other source of income. So with that being said, you have a ridiculous amount of questions. We are going to give away a $55 ticket on via Party Poker for the people that ask a question. Someone's going to get randomly drawn. Is there anything before we dive into questions you want to talk about? Anything more you want to say about the app? You're playing currently on Poker Bros, which is on your YouTube videos. Anything else that you're sort of working on, projects or stuff that you want to touch on?
No, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I think Andrew and I are looking forward to getting back after the with the meetup games, but we just want to make sure like we're doing it when it makes sense and it's like safe for everybody. So those are kind of on hold for the time being, but yeah. And as far as the Poker Bros stuff goes, like I play on there and it's great. I think it's a great way for people to just kind of like keep their mind sharp and not go nuts if they're in quarantine. And it's fun to connect with everybody, but also like it's an unregulated app. And so just I want people that kind of know that and be careful, especially when they're joining like just random clubs. Like you can't just be giving money to different agents that you don't like trust and stuff. There's so much possibility for people to just kind of take advantage of that situation. I don't think there's a very big incentive for people to mishandle players' funds. I think there's a giant incentive to run things properly and do everything the right way, but there still is that opportunity, and just be careful. Don't deposit more money than you're comfortable with, and like that you'd lose sleep over if you lost.
It's very tricky on that stuff for sure. And like you said, it's I think without, it's gray how it's done, who you're dealing with, what you're doing. Just realize that if you are going through something, also I think it's important for people to understand the difference who maybe can't to like process what's happening when you're telling someone about a play here or what they're doing. It's like you are in a particular part of a club. So on Party Poker or the other sites, Poker Stars or 888, that is a site that is, it's traded, it's public, it's a thing. You can feel pretty safe that your money's good. Obviously, there's been issues in the past, like Full Tilt ended up working out stuff, and there's different regulations, right? Where on these sites, a lot of them are individual clubs within a software. So like when you say go play on Poker Bros in this particular club, like that's one that you feel comfortable, at least for you to put your own money and do what you're comfortable. You can't say like, oh, do whatever and go nuts, and you're like saying you vouch for it. But the point being that is someone you're working with or feel comfortable with the arrangement. Now, Poker Bros, for example, the one you referenced, there's a ton of different clubs, ton of different setups, all kinds of stuff going on. So you got to be very careful that like if someone else says this or that, that you understand like this isn't Party Poker where it's legit. You deposit, their money's holding. Do it like it's a there's different clubs within the area. So like what they may think of is and what you direct them to is different than what they may be in another area, or if they find their way to another club or someone else is saying. It's just they got to understand first off that difference, that it is not all the same. So realize that and be very careful if you do choose to do that. I think that's
the club that I'm in and endorse is run by Bart Hansen, who I mentioned earlier. And he takes care of all the players' funds. He's been in poker for a super long time, has a great reputation. And it would crush like a lot of his businesses and his whole name and his whole life if like something happened and he mishandled funds. So I've known him for years, and he's always been ethical and done everything the right way as far as I can tell. And but still, I mean, it's a scary thing to like endorse personally.
Yeah, no, for sure. I get it. It's like I said, I'm very aware of the app industry. The app there's different ones, there's different clubs, there's different setups, there's different arrangements, all different types of stuff. So just be aware, be clear what you're getting into, understand that it's not like your traditional thing, and you just gotta make sure you're I think you basically described it best, and you have the steps and protocols. So if that's something you choose, be careful and be aware of what you're signing up for and who you're dealing with. So just disclaimer, but of course enjoy out there. Enjoy there. You got to find, if you can't go live and you like poker, you got to do your best to find a game that can stimulate your mind and have fun and do whatever that means for you. So for sure. Okay, well let's wrap it through a bunch. There's a lot of questions, a lot of fans I see here of the Brad Owen. You can give him a follow on Instagram, on Twitter, and we will now go through some of these questions, and also the Little Caesars 1992 pizza commercial participant, which we have found footage of. So let's go through this. Do you find YouTube algorithm has made it hard to grow your channel as fast as you'd like?
For me personally, no, but I think that for others, I think that's 100% true. I feel super fortunate to be where I'm at in the YouTube poker community, and I definitely never anticipated it would even be this big. So it hasn't been that way. I think for other people, and probably you included, Jeff, like I think so much of it has to do with when you got involved. Like when I got involved, Andrew had been out for a month and a half or so. And like that's when this whole poker vlog boom happened. And I think it was a lot easier to get traction. Now I think it's if you're starting out now, I think it's very tough. Just because it's so easy to get lost in the shuffle of all the poker vloggers. And I think people kind of have like their favorites at this point that they gravitate towards, and maybe, aren't necessarily like looking for new content to follow.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I try to, first of all, I like your vlogs, and also the fact that you are the leader in the industry. It's like good to kind of see stylistically what you're doing and what maybe is different.
In one of your vlogs at one point, because we played in the Colossus event together at the same table 2 years ago, and we weren't like real familiar with each other at that point. But you had a guy you had a camera dude who's going around.
Yeah.
And I saw that vlog, and it was interesting. I remember the hand that you busted out on some guy who I think was like probably a poker pro, open maybe blinds like 400, 800, maybe he opened to like 2K and you shoved for like 12K or something with ace king, and he tank called off with jack 10 suited.
I remember exactly even where we were, what room it was, and what like the thing. I remember it was a corner like on the side rail or side of the wall in the main Amazon, I think, room. And I
Yeah,
remember,
yeah,
yeah, I do remember that. And he
yeah.
had Jack 10. Yeah, that's right. And that, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's it's funny, the camera stuff too. It's weird, right? I sometimes feel like there's like levels to it, or people feel like they're getting. I don't know. There's like an extra little kick to it all, right? Like a little different. There's an algorithm within the live, what people, how they play or what they do. It's also tough, like to eat. Like I'll say in tournaments in particular, I can tell you how many times like people will say, "Oh, jinx" or this or that. But it's like you'll have the camera out and it's like you get this spot and it's just like you feel it's awkward a bit because like it's big moments in tournaments and it's like you're either gonna feel the emotion and joy and like you have a document, or you're gonna take like a bad beat or get unlucky, and then it's like it's kind of like a weird feeling, right? And like you get like a bad beat on the river and you're like filming it and you're just like, wait, what the hell, like how
But I
did
mean,
that happen,
that's like so much fun, whether it goes like well or poorly. Like if you win, it's great, obviously, because you double up. And then if you lose, I think people still enjoy seeing the emotion of that, and can relate to it. And it's probably nice for them to know, like even as like a top level professional, that stuff still happens to you, and it's still frustrating.
Yes, but yeah, no, it is. It's crazy. I mean, it's kind of wild to see too, looking back on some of the again, like the journaling, documenting, right? It's like all these tournaments kind of blend together, the years, the things you look back and like, man, that was fun. And honestly, too, I think part of it is like Doug Polk, for example. He won the one drop when he was like doing his vlogs and like won 100K for 3 million. It's like early in his, and it's just like of course that's going to be like a ridiculous thing. Like I have, yeah, I don't, I haven't had like a big breakout score event like from a live thing, which is that stuff helps, right? Like streaming or online, it helps. And
So close to like winning, you final table like several events, and
yeah,
like how important is that for you to get a bracelet?
It is. It's less now, but I think for a while I was really chasing. I mean, I have a second. Like I had it all in Ace Jack to King 10, 2011 versus Mark Radoja in a 5K shootout, which was like he had like 15 blinds, I had 13, and it was all in. So like it was like literally as close as you could get, like one hand away essentially, in like a 60-40 spot. And I've had some thirds and fifths and WPTs too, as thirds and stuff, and it's yeah, it would be nice, right? Like same thing. Like I want my kids to be like, yeah, it's one thing to like have some wins and live stuff. But it's like, all right, yeah, I won a WBT, I won a World Series bracelet, and my motives and my goals have sort of shifted a bit on like what I think is important in that. But I, of course, like definitely want to have a major title. But I just like the terms of the volume playing, it's going to be less than that stuff. So, but you never know, right? It doesn't. It's not, and also I think it's about quality. Like that's also a shift I would say about the World Series. You're asking how many events. Like I would much rather play the ones I really want to play and take some time off and relax and do it right than like I think in the past where I've just been like, all right, I'm going to play every event. I bust, I'm in the next one. Next day it's a 1K event I'm going to play. Whereas all right, no, let's sit out, play the 5K, come on time, do it right, play, do it that way. I think that's the better way. And I think I'm kind of going to shift in that in general, right, to do it. And I think it's actually just better all around to do it the more quality and less crazy. So I think that would be one change to make. But yeah, man, if you get into tournament stuff, I think you'll really enjoy it. And I think I'm pretty, your viewers would probably, it'd be interesting to kind of shift and like do like a patch of that, or like play were you planning on playing the World Series events other than the main, or just really the main?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably play like 10 events or so this year if things went normal.
Right. Okay, let's get back to this stuff. What is do you edit your vlogs? We already covered that. You do, right? You edit all your own vlogs?
Yeah.
Being a YouTuber helps you in the world of poker. Not really sure how to view that question, but do you feel some advantages from being a YouTuber, like from doing
I think advantages just in terms of like opportunities. Like, I mean, if I wasn't doing the YouTube stuff, I wouldn't have the chance to go to like Spain, for instance, and work with 888. Obviously, like the connections that I have now helps, being friends with, Jason Somerville and doing this podcast. Actually, you and I met at Run It Up Reno, or that's the first time we really talked.
Yeah, that was at in the sports book. We were hanging out there watching.
I knew I liked you because my girlfriend and I, we were going to play beer pong, and you're like, I love beer pong. Like, but you had a tournament, or it was already late. It was already like midnight or something, and you're like, I want to go, but
that's the old. I'm telling you, man. I'm not that I'm not fun or whatever. I'm just like, I married. I have a child, and it's like, like those. Not that I'll never go out or do something, but it's just like in those spots, like I'd always be like, if it's closer, I'm like, it'd be like yeah, let's go, whatever. And then I'm kind of more, laid back. Like in those like 50-50s, I'm usually just like, all right, I'm just gonna get some sleep and not go out and drink and go to some bar and stuff. But I do remember that. That was fun, man. That was good. Those Run It Ups are. How many have you been to?
I've been to I think 3.
Yeah, it was a good time. That's a great place. So they're very, very like enthusiastic and poker really people that embrace and love the game in one area, one arena, which Jason's done a great job building that up. How do you someone asked, how do you decide who to follow on YouTube? Do you have any channels you kind of like watch all their vlogs or some of them? And like, how do you find like new YouTube people that you like to
like poker specifically, or
just general, any YouTube vlogs, I guess.
I love, for me, like when I watch YouTube, it's not poker stuff. For me, like I really want to like relax and unwind, and so I'm usually watching like Joe Rogan podcasts or various other things like that. I like this channel called like Biographics, I think, which kind of just goes over like different interesting people's lives.
Right.
I was into like conspiracy stuff for a while. Not that I like believed in them. I just thought they were interesting.
Did the U.S. make it to the moon?
I mean, that one seems like pretty dumb.
I agree. I think we did, but I did like the people who are really like, it's crazy, right? In conspiracy theories, like the ones that are so adamantly, like some of the bigger ones, like the JFK,
JFK seems like something was odd with that one. Like even the U.S. government at one point said it was likely that there was some kind of I don't know what, there was some kind of like court case that was around the JFK thing like years later, and they determined, like it said like in a government court, that it was likely that there was a governmental conspiracy.
It's that have you seen the Zabruder film? Did you ever watch like the actual shot?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I think I saw it like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Like I got out of the movie came out and I was like watching the one, and then I wanted the footage of it, and it's just insane. Like the fact that the technology and the person who did it or whatever, like that they could execute a shot on a moving car to hit him in the head. It seems like like it couldn't have been like more than, it's not like it was 50%. Like that shot seems almost impossible. Like,
Right. Well, I mean, like, to reload and shoot multiple shots that were all accurate within like a certain like 10-second time frame or whatever it is, it seemed like nearly impossible, especially with like the kind of gun he was using and his angle and all.
Was it more? There was more than one shot fired?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know. I didn't even realize that. I thought it was a one. So he was he however, wherever the gun or whatever was shot, there was multiple bullets fired at that. So it wasn't the first try shot. That's
why people thought there were multiple shooters and stuff.
Super interesting. Yeah, it seems crazy. And the fact that he got like a headshot, or like after one or two, they would, if they notice the shot and they hear it, then like they would protect and recover, get down. Like the fact that like just sort of like, I don't know that. Yeah. So that's a wild one. You can get lost in these things. It's a rabbit hole for sure.
We need to go into there, but yeah, I mean, I really love like just learning new things on YouTube. And so, so that's kind of what I use it for, like more so than poker vlogging stuff. I'm also kind of wary about watching other poker content just because I don't want to steal stuff from other people. Like I think people do a great job, and I think that I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. And whether, maybe you forget about it like a week later, and maybe like subconsciously you want to do like something similar. And I just to not have any thing like that, it's easier for me to just kind of like avoid watching other poker vlogs, and especially Andrew's, because we're doing them from the same event a lot of the time.
Right.
and I don't want to see something, and he puts out his videos like a week or 2 weeks before I do. So I don't want to see his from one event that we do and then like either want to include something or not include something based on what he put out.
Right. That's actually a little interesting. That is interesting that that like then, because there's going to be some overlap probably, or similar shots that you both did or that were cool. And that's almost like a little tricky because it's like that's the way to, I guess, do it. If you just don't know or don't look, it's just like looks like whatever. I just literally, that's your stance. Because if it's like you do watch it, then it's like, oh, and then it looks similar. There's similar stuff. Like, you know, it's like a little tricky. But the fact that he's releasing it generally ahead, it's almost like, you know, you got to be not careful, but that's something to be cognizant of, that could happen, right?
Yeah. I usually watch his from the same event like after I put mine out.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Worst beat. Is there any hand on vlogging that was like you've seen like runner like 0.3% or some crazy shit that like just was wild? That
you know, I don't know on vlog, but I got like quad over quadded once in my poker career. That one was rough. That was like right before I started vlogging though.
Wow. That's pretty dirty. I don't like
it. I think the sickest part about it was that I was putting in 95% of my hours at Red Rock where they have a bad beat jackpot. That hand happened at Bellagio, just like that happened to be there. And so I got bad beat twice, basically in the same.
That's pretty wild. So that is a little bit unlucky. A lot of questions here that we've already covered, which is nice. On average, how much time you spend on video editing? You say about 20 hours. That could be, is that the average or?
An hour per minute of like finished product. So if like it's a 15-minute video, usually takes me like 15 hours.
Wow. What is harder, growing your YouTube channel or becoming a professional poker player? Like what do you think would be harder, someone to become a successful YouTuber or poker player?
Probably becoming a successful YouTuber. I think it's probably harder. Just because I think like I think I'm like really, really lucky to be where my channel is on YouTube. And I think it's super like almost nearly impossible. If you look at all the good poker players that have content on YouTube, the amount that would like feel comfortable on their YouTube revenue, like I don't know. It's hard to explain exactly, but I just think it's like super tough to be successful in YouTube, and I've gotten like very lucky.
Yes, I mean it's similar to Twitch. Like it's just not for everyone. It's not even it's not for everyone. Because listen, I hope I would think maybe you utter the same sentiment that everyone go out. If you play poker, if you go live, try it. Do a YouTube, do a vlog. Have fun with it, but just understand that it doesn't just happen. It's 3.5 years of working, 4 years, 2 years before you get any traction, and a lot of dedication and whatever. But if your motive is maybe just have a journal, and your friends, family, people can sweat along. Like you said, there's not a lot of people that, necessarily know you play poker for good or bad if you're playing cash games. So it's like, if you want to just kind of document it, record it, maybe it turns into something, maybe you love it, maybe you keep going with it, or maybe you just have it and you can look back on it. It's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be, you need to become the #1 YouTuber or do it to monetize, right? There is, similar on Twitch, right? A lot of people some people make a Twitch channel and they stream when they play once in a while, and they have it and they can go back, review hands. They can have family members or people watch, but it doesn't mean that they need to try to get a sponsorship or make it their main focus. So that is, I think that's good. I agree with what you're saying there as well. How's your day so far? It looks, people asking about how do you always stay so positive? You seem to have a very positive, upbeat vibe with stuff. Like, what's your, do you have any tricks? Do you do meditation? Are you a generally just positive person off the tables, or do you have any advice on that, or how you're able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my moments, man. I'm not like always that positive. I mean, sometimes I get frustrated, right. But generally on video, yeah, I want to come off as positive. I don't want to I think that I try to express my feelings like the best that I can on video. I think when I'm angry, then I don't express that as much on video, like about a bad beat. For instance, the last video I put out, I lost like the biggest pot of my life, where this dude just was playing crazy, and then I added on, and then like 5 minutes later he stacked me, and I was like pretty dejected about that. I wasn't actually angry. I was just kind of like more sad maybe than I might have like put off in my video or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm like super fortunate in just a ton of ways. So for the most part, I am pretty positive and pretty happy, but definitely have my moments that, you know, maybe aren't shown as much where I'm upset or whatever.
What is your biggest win and loss? I guess playing poker live, like playing poker in a casino.
In cash games, my biggest win is like 5,200 or 5,300. Just in 510. I mean, I don't have like absurd, like huge wins. And then my biggest loss is 6,000.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Someone's actually referencing that in the chat there. Got people know they. I know. Actually, I was saying. I was like, oh, they know it. It's like there's you referenced what it is. I was like, oh, so someone knows. Okay. Any new? What are you doing instead of playing poker live now? Is there any stuff? Any like are you learning a language? Any reading? Any shows you picked up that are cool? Like anything that's been a change that now is part of your routine at the moment?
Just working out more. I think just this is such a great time to kind of recharge the batteries and focus on some self-improvement. And reading is something that I've been doing. Like I hadn't finished a book in forever before this. And so now I'm like 20 pages away from finishing a book, which I'm really excited about.
That's a big, I mean, listen, that's not something easy to do these days. Like I can't tell you last time I've gone cover to cover on a book and rarely pick one up. So that's cool. That is nice. Feels good, right? Like it's kind of like, all right, yeah. Like I picked up and finished something because it's I feel like our what's the word? Our what's the like our age, our demographic appeal. Like we're not really. It's not like a common thing. I feel like book reading sort of lost, right?
Yeah.
At least like I don't know a lot of people that read books.
Yeah. I'm such a slow reader, but I really enjoy reading. I really enjoy like getting all the ideas, like soaking in those ideas in a book and then finishing a book. Yeah. But that rarely happens for me these days. So yeah, just self-improvement, just working out, reading, trying to get better at online, adjusting to that, because that's something that I wasn't really doing before. And there's like so many things that I wish I was better at. That's not just like poker related, but just in general in life. So
for sure. No, I mean, I think this is like when looking back on this period of time, I think it's obviously a lot of sadness and negativity stuff, but it's also, I think a lot of people are going to find some new spark, new something that they're going to pick up or learn or be able to accomplish. And I think there's going to be a lot of positives as well from this world sort of pause and what we're doing or what everyone's doing individually. What's your favorite GPI award? Like which category or thing you think's like cool or that's unique?
So the People's Choice was awesome. I was really, really excited to win that one. Just winning like one GPI award in my career was something that was, you know, like almost like a bucket list career thing. So I did that, and it's just nice because like the people vote for that one. So I think that one's particularly cool. I think it'd be great to win a Blogger of the Year award at some point, just to be like recognized as the top person in the category that I.
Who won this year?
Andrew's won all of them.
He's won every year.
I think it's been around for 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can't argue with him winning it because I mean he obviously does a great job and he's the only reason that I'm doing it.
Right. Is that like when you go into the award show that night, you guys are friends and it's kind of an interesting thing, right? Because you're like competitors, but like you're saying, he's the reason you're there. He's like kind of the industry standard, but now you've got the most followers and like your thing is ignited. But like, so it's kind of like you guys are friends, you're partners on stuff, you do games together, you're happy for each other, but you're also competitors in some sense on that. But it's like, you know, a weird thing, right? Because it's like he wants you to win probably and be happy for you, but obviously he wants to defend his sort of domain. Like, was it like when they're about to announce the award? Was it like kind of like were you like, because it could go either way, right? I mean, it's literally like you could probably expect like, yeah, like when they're reading it, it could be you easily. Like it's like almost a toss up essentially. So like, how is that like dynamic?
So that's why I don't even really like that award being a thing because it's a pretty dumb. If you think about it, it's like who you know documented their life the best over the last year. So it's like it's not something that should even be like a competitive thing amongst people.
Right.
It should just be like
Yeah,
you
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
do like the best job, um, and then you put out the best product that you can, and you do things the way that you want to do them. That's like how it should be, and it's.
I think I've thought about this some, and then I actually got like, I was up for stream of the year a few years. There was one year where like the year before, I think I thought I was actually going to win, or I could, like, I was like literally thought, it could go either way. And it was like, I was like, it's fun, right? It's great to get an award. It's great to be recognized and all that. But, I started thinking about it. I think they should actually, because those categories like Twitch and YouTube are sort of the, those are like the big ones, right? Like those are like the big content things. Like I think it would be cool to have like a vlog of the year or a stream of the year, moment of the year. Like at some point, like just kind of for fun, like add a couple more of something to sort of like where you got multiple winners within a category, and also sort of hone in on a moment or a thing, right? Because like Twitch, for example, or YouTube, right? Like there's maybe a vlog or someone that goes viral or like some situation. Like I just think it'd be kind of cool to add within the category like a couple extra like
Yeah,
nuances. But
I think we could team up and do like a vlogger and streamer award show. Like
well, listen,
best hand, whatever, all these kind of things.
I got something in the pipeline that I like. I much prefer to deliver and have stuff ready and do stuff than say like, oh, I'm doing this or that, like for a couple of reasons. Not only just, strategically, because people could try to do whatever. I got some cool stuff in the pipeline. I'm definitely going to, you and Andrew to talk about. So we'll do that at coming up here. I think we could do some pretty cool stuff.
But for this, I got to tell this story because it's pretty funny. So for the vlogger of the year thing, I think Andrew was expecting me to win. Him and I were both actually doing a meetup game in LA at the Gardens Casino.
Yeah.
But we had the Global Poker Awards on the television there, so everybody was watching. And as the category came up, Andrew walked over to where I was sitting, and he had someone else film like our interaction or whatever, how it was going to go. So I think he was planning on me winning and him like congratulating me, and he was going to have it and he was going to include it on his vlog. And then he won, and then so I was like, congratulations. I thought I was going to win. I was hoping I was going to win. I didn't. So I was like kind of upset, but like, this is my buddy, one of my best friends. And he definitely deserved to win as well. So, but then he didn't take that clip. He didn't use it in his video of him like actually winning the award, which is like kind of funny.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Like the feeling, I think I have a similar, I remember it was like 26, must have been 17 or for 18. I forget, but like I was there and Jamie won. Same exact thing. Like Jamie, great streamer. I think there was probably a year when he should have won. But Somerville was sort of like just sort of the guy, right? Like he's like the reason, he was the original, he was the best and does it. And then he kind of took a break. And then like that year, and it's just like same thing. It's like it could go multiple ways and it's hard to call. And you don't know, did you lose by a vote, by 10? Was it close? Should you have won or not? Or does it even matter? But it's like, there is a feeling of there's a feeling about it, right? It's like it's intense, right? Because it's like it's great, like you want to win, it's competitive, but then it's kind of, you think about it, all right, that's cool, or like, yeah, he deserved it too, and he's a great guy, and like it all kind of doesn't really matter, really, right? Like it's one of those things, like you forget about it, or it's just not, or you'll get, hopefully you win the next one or coming up, and you'll be doing it for a while, but it's just like, yeah, it's one of those things. Like it's great to be competitive. It's great anytime there's competition. It's good. It's good when there's like, it's unknown who's going to win. It makes it exciting and kind of like a thing where it's like if a guy's just like, there's no competition, it's an easy choice and it's automatic. It's like less of an exciting kind of thing, right? So I think that's good as well. But yeah, it's very cool. Let's take one or two more and then we'll wrap it up. We've been here over 2 hours. I really do appreciate the time, and this has been very insightful. I hope everyone's enjoying, and this will be out on podcast channel outlets, not just the video, but you can watch the video recap here on YouTube as well. And someone asked, do you play PokerStars or Party? Do you have accounts set up on either of those sites?
No, not currently.
And you did say, but would that be something of interest to you, or just not at the moment based on your playing? You got the app, you got WSOP, like to forget COVID. Let's say COVID becomes is in the past in 3 months, 2 months, is that something you'd be interested in going and getting set up, going through the process to have it, or just not really even on your radar?
No, it's definitely on my radar. Like I would love to be working with some of those, some of those big companies and providing content for them and playing on their platforms, and particularly probably like going to their live event series. Like I think that's something that would be even cooler, is to go to those destination places and show off those.
All right, let's take this and then one more. Who inspired you to pick up a camera for your first film experience? Who was the one who told you, "Hey, man, you should do this," or got you sparked to think about doing it?
Well, okay, so like watching Doug Polk and Jason Somerville in the beginning, those were like the two biggest guys like on YouTube. And so like I always thought what they did was great. Seeing Andrew's vlog is like what made me think it was like even possible for me to do it. It's just like an everyday kind of 2.5 grinder. And then my dad putting out a video that I didn't know about, that was like the worst video I've ever seen, but it had like 12,000 views or something, put me over the edge, and is the reason why I actually like started. Taking that leap and like doing that first video is really, really tough, to put yourself out there and just not knowing how people are going to respond to it, like whether or not people are going to watch it, whether or not people like, I didn't know that I wanted people to watch it, to be honest.
Right.
I think we would only be like friends and family, and it was kind of like an embarrassing thing, like taking a shot at video editing, which I knew nothing about, and it was tough.
That's it is. It's hard. The first step's definitely the hardest. Like it's just looking at the evolution, right? Probably the equipment you use now, the setup you have, the editing tools, and way like looking back 3 years ago, like same thing for me as well. It's like the microphones, the cameras, the things, you start getting better, your design, your logos, the way you do it, how you do it, like everything's kind of optimizes, and it's a real journey, right? And it's like, even I could say for myself, even in the last 2 months, made major changes to set up and also part of it is technology and what's available on the market and how the industry shifts and changes. But I'm sure looking back at your first vlogs now, you're like, holy shit, like look at what I was doing, look at how I was filming, look at how crazy it is. But you sort of teach his own.
Yeah, I mean, you looks great. You look like you're broadcasting from a comedy club.
Yeah, full comedy club area, and got things going on, man. Getting upgrades on equipment and trying to. That's the definition of the matrix, right? Always optimizing, moving forward, improving. That's what I think good creators try to do, and I know you're doing it. And Andrew, and again, it's a lot of fun. It is cool. I wish I had more time. Truthfully, I've seen some of your stuff. I watched some of it. Like you said, I don't want to poach it, but looking at, oh, that makes sense. Like, why am I doing it this way when this is going to be way more, not even like the style, but just like a very general change, and like how you're presenting the information, like, is important, right? What works, what doesn't work, what do people like? And you get some of that from feedback, like you get feedback from people like, oh, I wish you did this more, or do less of this, or show more of that. And, all that stuff. Let's see, one more. Oh yeah, poker enjoyment. How has the enjoyment of poker been for you in the last, say, starting poker and where you are now? Do you like it more, less, or is it maybe hard to say because like maybe you enjoy the content side of it more and the YouTube aspect of it, but actually like the going and playing? Like when you say I'm going to go wake up and go play at a casino today, is that exciting to you? Is it a job, or is it like, this is going to be fun, let's crush, and like I love it?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, because like the stress is pretty much gone from playing poker and depending on it for a living. So that makes it easier to enjoy, but also it's not like the best way to optimize my time as much anymore. So like creating content around poker is a better use of my time than playing poker.
Right.
So like I almost feel guilty when I play now. Like I should be at home like editing or something. But I do, yeah, I mean I enjoy playing a ton still. And so I think overall I enjoy playing poker more, just because I don't have to stress about the money as much. And I can, it allows me to play in like bigger games from creating the content. And that's actually a pretty cool thing, is that I can take shots in like 10-25 and 10-20 and stuff, because if I film it, then I get a YouTube rebate if things don't go well. And if things do go well, then maybe I can have a big win.
That's, yeah, very well said. I'm the same way as you, man. It's crazy. Like I love the game. It's such a fun game, and just looking how much it's shifting. It is. I do kind of miss the times of like playing 1-2, 2-4, 5-10, like for the first times, like when I was building a role, and it's like exciting because like even if you think you're a winning player and doing well, it's kind of like unsure if you can really do it. Like could you beat variance? Are you even good at poker? Is it possible to do this and like have the freedom to play poker and be your own business? So like all these sort of like unknown variables, like it's like the journey is part of the real fun, right? It's like it's like same thing. If someone asked me, do you want to win the lottery? Like, would it be cool to given $100 million today? Yeah, I mean, it would, I guess, like, right. And assuming you could be, but it's sort of like the actual grind and journey and experience of building a sustainable thing is, I think, very rewarding and very fun. And I think it's actually better that way than just like, it's also sometimes, I think about that too. Like there's times I look back on some of my biggest tournament scores and things where I've gotten second, third, fourth, maybe I would have won and I would have like been cocky and said, oh, like I'm the greatest, or like blown the money or been less motivated, right? So I think it's like another thing I like to say, it's about not about what happens, it's how you react to what happens. And a lot of times in the moments, something may seem terrible or unfair or not what's best for you, but it actually could pay dividends or be part of your plan, like
Dude, that's pretty. The book that I'm reading is called David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talks about like that exact thing. It's about like things that you think are disadvantages at the time end up really helping you out in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give one example before we kind of head off, like talking about like the Black Friday. Like I know for me, I was still in Baltimore. I was living with Phelps. That was 2011, and I was like in the peak of my online playing. Like, and I actually think I wasn't even playing that great. Like I'm playing multi-table tournaments, wasn't really studying. Online games had gotten tougher. I was playing cash games. I was kind of going through the motions, right? Like I was an athlete for my whole life. I played soccer, and I was in school my whole life. Now I no longer had any responsibility for training or for school. And I was just sort of partying, playing beer pong every day, basically ordering Chinese food from Ding Hao. And I would roll out of bed before I would even tournament. It was like, it was just crazy. Like you literally wake up, there's tournaments going.
Ding Hao, Jeff, you getting paid promotion from
affiliate code FLOW if you call them in Baltimore, Maryland. So yeah, it was just kind of crazy, right? It was like one of those things where like my routine was not healthy, but it was okay. I was sort of like okay with that. But then all of a sudden it shifted. Like I was just waking up, playing poker, beer pong, Chinese, repeat, right? Now, wow, I can't play poker from here. What's going to happen? Life's over. This is bad. This is like a shift. Well, no, now I'm traveling. Now I'm playing live cash games. Now I'm going to live tournament stops. Now I'm, and now I'm working out again. I can't play online poker at the moment, and my routine wasn't good. So like it was a complete shift. And looking back, it's the best thing that ever happened. But in that like month or moment or immediate, it was like, this is bad. Like, what am I going to do? So it's like, I think it's important to really try to think about, like in general, like the COVID-19, not good, most likely for the majority of people in theory, right? But like, can you find ways to shift or maybe, recalibrate what you're doing? I think that's like an important way to look at it if you can. And that's not always the case, not always like, oh, this is a great silver lining, but a lot of times it's mental and how you're able to shift or adjust. So
yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we covered a lot. This was a treat. I appreciate it, guys. Again, let me just quickly run through this. We do have the question here. If you guys participated, you're eligible. We're going to roll this $55 ticket from Party Poker. We'll let Brad Owen go ahead and time that for us. And again, Instagram, Twitter, you put up stories, you got keep people posted. You got your YouTube channel over 200,000, I believe, well over the lead for the poker, the biggest one. Pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. Your Henin Mob, which is for tournaments, you're one of the most popular players in the world, and you don't even play tournaments, barely, like literally maybe 1% of what you do or less. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, Little Caesars commercial, can check it out, and anywhere else they can follow along, or any other things to talk about.
Yeah, I guess if they're interested in playing poker with Andrew and myself, check out facebook.com/pokermugs.
Cool. And that is in your YouTube to show more. You guys can kind of see what he's got going on, Facebook, YouTube, and the other different various programs you endorse or associate with. So very cool. Very, very informative. We appreciate it. And let's give someone a $55 ticket here. So you tell me when you're ready, and let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, let's go for it.
Boom. Someone's getting a 55, maybe a bankroll booster, maybe a starter. Josh Wilderman, I think this guy might have a hack because I know this name. And man, that graph doesn't look great, whatever that is for. Maybe Bitcoin or no, maybe, I don't know. I hope that's not your poker graph. But you have won several poker ticket. And this guy has won, I think, at least 2 or 3. So I always wonder if there's a way people are circumventing. Oh my God, is this the guy? Oh, he's saying this guy. This is crazy. I honestly, this guy's. I think he's won like 5 giveaways. This might be. I might have to put a cap. Right. That seems reasonable to cap winners at like 2 or 3. Because I mean, how many raffles can you win? So
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, like all right, I might have to change.
Vote that one. Josh, you're out, buddy.
Josh, that's it. That's whatever the number you won. That's what I'm capping at for winners. So, all right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate it. That's the Brad Owen. Give him a follow on across the platforms. Check out his vlog. And again, I hope we get to collaborate on some projects. I got something in the pipeline I think you'll want to check out, and maybe some meetup games in the future we can organize as well, or be a part of what you guys got going on that. And yeah, man, keep doing the good fight for the industry. Definitely one of the bright lights and positive situations for poker. It's great to see you producing content and giving people something to be excited about.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for having me on here, and you know, I was able to not be bored for the last couple hours. I don't know what I would have been doing.
Well, there you go. Hopefully you're reading, you would have been reading or whatever, but there's stuff, plenty of free time right now. There's no question about that. So use it well, be safe out there, social distance, take this thing serious, and hopefully we push through this pretty soon. All right. Cheers. Brad Owen, everyone. Enjoy it. And this is up on all the podcast outlets very soon. And please leave comments, feedback below what you thought. And yeah, go check out his vlogs. Enjoy.